Tell me where do I go? Tell me where do I take us? Your heart is starting to slow. May the water be safe as I dive in. Bloodstains washing underneath the waves. I'll be reaching out to keep you safe as we fall. I can't hold on much
Welcome in everybody to the final day of week 1 of LPL Split 1, and we have a banger matchup coming up as Top Esports will be taking on Team WE. My name is Yanni. I'm joined here by Rudude. Rudude, this is a matchup where, TES, you know them, you love them, expecting to really come out of the gate strong, but Team WE, they got a couple of building blocks that we're excited to see, and hopefully they can make some waves, and we'll get a first look at that here this week.
Yeah, let's not mince words. Expectation is that Top Esports should be fairly handily taking this series. Any games for WE today should be counted as a victory. But Top Esports, we've seen a few of their inconsistencies of the like over the Demacia Cup end of last year as well. Not quite where they were hoping to be, but yeah, this should be a cut and dry series.
Yeah, without a doubt. And when you see situations where it can be a little cut and dry like this, it's a little scary for the team that could be on the receiving end of that because of the split format that we have. Everybody's been talking about how soul-crushing it can be. As you can see our groups on screen, 4 groups of 4, single round robin best of 5s and full fearless. The top 2 teams make the playoffs. The bottom 2 are going to be done until split 2, and that is just brutal, right? Especially for a team like WE, who was like, hey, we just talked about these building blocks, right? They are really going to have to show out in every single game to get an opportunity to.
Yeah, absolutely. The pressure is really on them to get as much out of I mean, the fact that we've already seen Top in action as well, that we get to see now how they can respond and how we've got WE coming into today. There's a lot of onus on WE to make sure that they are in a good stead because, as you've mentioned, top 2 going through, there's no room to mess up, really. You get 1 loss. In an ideal world, you get no losses, but you get 1 loss, and then you have to win the rest of them. For WE going up against Top to begin with, that's a hard match.
Yeah, never mind the fact that once you get to split 2, the bottom 2 teams are done for the year at that point. Your season's going to end in the middle of summer, which is not something that everybody's used to. So I'm interested to see how that format shakes out and how it's going to affect certain teams, right? You talk about development being a big thing for a lot of these Chinese teams, right? And Team WE is, deciding to grab a couple of LCKCL players that for their mid and bottom lane. Karis and Taeyun, as you see the starting lineup for Team WE here. Cube in the top lane, Tianjin in the jungle, Karis, Taeyun, as mentioned, in the mid and bot lane, and then Vampire at support.
Yeah, no, I mean, for the WE roster, we've got, as you've said, those LCKCL promotees coming through, so eyes on Karis, Taeyun to see if they can potentially help out the roster. For me, if there's anywhere on this map that we're looking at as a potential win condition for WE today, you have to look to Tianjin for this. He's probably their best piece that we've known as a quantity, as an LPL sort of fan base, let's say, going into today. So eyes on the jungle to see if there's a little bit of a Kanavi hangover maybe that we can exploit for a game, and then obviously need to see.
Listen, he's got a pretty good win rate against Kanavi, by the way. So
True?
Yeah. Over 3 games, 66% win rate. Large sample size. We love that.
I can't tell if I'm just frozen on my camera or
bro.
breaking around me.
It's all right. It was just the sheer power of Team WE that has really rocked you to your core and your connection as a whole. Having a look at Top Esports, which is the real team that would rock you to your core. As I said earlier, you know them, you love them. It's a who's who of LPL favorites: 369, Kanavi, Cream, Jackie Love, and Crisp. And one of the big things about this team is Jackie Love and Crisp. A couple of question marks coming in, I must say. I want to see how they work together, and really expecting them to hit the ground running in a league where a lot of top teams have kind of struggled in early games. They haven't had the cleanest games.
No, and I think that a lot of my hang-ups for this bot side have come from Crisp, unfortunately. I think that we saw Jackie Love truly perform in Demacia Cup and ultimately got a few issues from the support role. And Crisp had a couple of wayward bard ultis. Now, those things did tend toward positive nature as we got a little bit later on into the game, but by and large, we needed to see Crisp just improve a little bit. We also knew Jackie Love as a really solid laning sort of foe that you had to go against, and Chris wasn't particularly facilitating all of that just yet. So there's still a little bit of time for them to work out the creases. I think that a series versus WE, a team that we theoretically expect to be a bit weaker, could be very useful for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a great way to smooth out some of the oopsies that we saw earlier, and that we'll see in just a little bit, because you put together an interesting low light package with them that I'm excited to see in a little bit, because I was watching through some of those clips, and that was pretty fun to look at. But we do have a couple of content creators who have gone out on a limb and have decided, yes, this is exactly what I would expect to see. And here's this like low light package. Jackie Love just up a little bit too far.
Yeah, I mean, this was honestly relatively difficult, because it's already highlighted that Tom made it to the of the Marcia Cup, and but lights, it wasn't as hoped.
Yeah, and as you said, it's okay. Things will get smoothed out. Here are the content creator predictions. Honestly, this makes a whole lot of sense. I'm really liking Toad putting LGD up to third, especially after their series versus Anyone's Legend. They actually looked pretty good there, but TES totally expected to get it here along with Anyone's Legend.
Yeah, and it's good to see that there's a few people still backing the AL horse as well, that despite the fact that I guess top esports were expected to still be a really solid team, we've got China Gap Toad still thinking, hey, I think AL can take them in this best of series this year.
Yeah, and as for WE and LGD, I mean, they're going to need some of their players to be breakout stars if they want a shot out of this group. Now, again, I harken back to why this series is so much, especially for a team like LGD, who's not even in this series, because of how good they looked against Anyone's Legend. If TES shows any semblance of not being on the top of their game, I mean, there's opportunities there to potentially swipe away that second spot when they play. So it is going to be so important for TES to look really, really strong.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, off of L looking, hey, this should be.
And we have a bit of a head-to-head between Tianjun and Kanavi as the two players to watch for, as we mentioned earlier. I mean, Tianjun, his stats look pretty good, all things considered, because Team WE didn't have the cleanest finish. But, when you're staring down Kanavi on the other side, honestly, you could throw the numbers out, because you know what this guy is about and how good he is.
Yeah, Kanavi at this stage needs no introduction is our main point, but we'll give him one anyway, just because it feels appropriate and a sign of respect, really, to do so. You can expect Kanavi to be trying to control Tianjin as best as possible, make sure that this guy doesn't get that foot in that we expect for WE to really get any sort of advantage in this game. And despite those numbers looking really all over the shop, right, you've got 16th in kill participation, but then second in first blood. Whenever he's going for those kills, it tends to be earlier on, and he's sort of facilitating his team to make the plays without him.
Yeah, and for these stats, you can see at the bottom, they're from the Demacia Cup, and the Demacia Cup, it was a tale of two tournaments for these teams here, because TES finished second. They lost to their fellow groupmate Anyone's Legend. Given the fact that they had a couple of new pieces, not too surprising that they didn't look, firing on all cylinders like we kind of expected them to, or hoping they would. They should be fine. And on the other side, Team WE, they had this roster minus Cube. I think, I can't remember who the top laner was. I had it in my head, but things didn't go ideally. They finished third in the group. They managed to beat out Team Blood. They couldn't get a win against JDG or the group winners Thunder Talk, which really there's no shame in that. Those two teams played particularly well, and we know how good JDG is.
No, absolutely not. I mean, taking the old man win, it's good that they're able to find that win in the group stage. But again, like you say, no shame that they're not beating out some of those opponents, especially for this newer roster that is still fleshing out its identity, figuring out what it's going to look like as it moves into the split one of LPL. And I think that for WE, it should be one of those building foundations for split number 2, for split 3 as well. See if there are some pieces there that they really enjoy, and finding that play style that they can hone in on and really try to develop for those second splits, because thinking about it, there's a theoretical 15 games that they can play, but it's 3 best-of-5s that they're going to play this split, and maybe some more if they end up doing really well in these best-of-5s. But that's not a lot of time when you compare it to, split 1 of the LPL last time round, where they were playing several best-of series back-to-back. Like, so much more practice time. This is obviously very useful for a viewer perspective and for a team perspective as well, just to try and reduce the amount that you've got, but it has been a severe reduction, and that in turn can make it a little bit more difficult, especially in an adjustment phase for all teams.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, that adjustment phase, top esports, that's going to be the one that we want to watch for in that bottom lane, because the expectations set for these teams, right? So, what exactly are we looking for, right? For TES, it's no nonsense wins. A couple of teams, as we mentioned, struggled a little bit in the early game. Like, I want to, think about like BLG, who they had the cleanest early games out of all the teams that played this week, and they were still kind of Weibo in both series, except for like Game 3 versus Ultra Prime. And even in the group, teams like Anyone's Legend had like a tough time against LGD. So that's what we're really looking for, the no-nonsense wins. And then, of course, for the other side, the building blocks. Karis and Taeyun have to show that they're reliable. We need to see some improvement out of Vampire. Still a very young player, had a much maligned last season in 2024. So hoping for him to turn it around.
Yeah, and then I think that if we can sort of instill a little bit of Cube's veterancy and just a little bit of calm, I think, from that top side of the Rift for WE, that there are opportunities for them to show something promising. And I think that's all that we can, if we're setting our expectations right, it's to say that they've not just been rolled over in 3 games, and try and cause a little bit of that upset and make sure that they can at least push top a little bit further back than they might have anticipated. And that will most likely come from Cube, from Tianjin in the top side of the Rift, because they are the more senior players, those players that you have just a little bit more LPL experience, and you're going to have to also, whilst being those experienced players and hold yourself in a little bit higher regard versus your opponents, also coax those newer players, those rookies from the LCK Challengers League, Vampire in his second outing, to just keep them more comfortable, heads calm, and then moving into, what can be a beneficial or positive second split.
Yeah, and that's got to be hard, especially in a series like this, because you're relying on those 2 veterans, as you said. Well, their opposite numbers are 369 and Kanavi, a combined 16 All-Pro votes between the 2 of them. They each have an MVP in their hardware, many top finishes at Worlds. I mean, that is a tough assignment, because you're like, all right, I need to lead the charge for these youngins, right? And on the other side, you're essentially facing the Demon Lord across from the battlefield, and you're like, crap. I got the C rank adventurers that are still trying to get through and better themselves. Can you tell I've been watching a lot of anime lately?
Not at all. It's not coming across in any way. Don't worry, Annie. You're good. But I mean, it's an exactly wonderful point, because like we've said, they've got to do all of this morale boosting type thing for their team, and try and potentially shot call from the jungle as well. But then they've also got to play against such titans on the other side of the Rift as well, that they've got to focus on their own gameplay, because it's all very well and good saying, oh yeah, bot, don't worry, we can play this game out, but I've accidentally made 369 7-0 on a Gwen, and he's actually going to destroy you, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We can maybe win, but not against this Gwen, because I fed a lot, because I've been focused on trying to help you guys down on the bot side. It's a very fine balance, I think.
It's my favorite line. I have created a problem, and I have no intentions of doing anything about it. It's what you can very easily run into here, just because everybody from this lineup can carry. And one player that I'd really love to see kind of have a bit of a pop-off out of TES especially is Cream. So when you take a look at everybody on TES as a whole, he's got the least amount of hardware. And that doesn't always mean everything, but he's the kind of guy that if TES really wants to contend for the world title, we need to see him level up just a little bit more, because he's already so good. But just breaking through that barrier when you're already so good is so difficult. And if he can do that, and of course Jackie Love and Crisp really pull it together, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. I hate to use that platitude, but it really is. No,
and it's a valid platitude to be using, because it's exactly right. And I think that the fact that Cream had such a is such a good player, but people still expect more. That can be quite challenging as well, because you are surrounded by genuinely top level in the world players on
Some
your
of the
roster.
greatest to ever play.
Exactly right. Jackie Love, 369, Kanavi are all up there with probably arguments for best in role currently. You know, top 3, top 5, maybe if you're really trying to push it. So when you're Cream as well, and the conversation probably isn't around you for that specific role, it can be quite daunting. But that's the level that people expect from you and from your team. There's definitely an element of psyche there that you're going to have to try and improve in.
Yeah, and I am really curious on, you know, what Cream is going to look like when the teams are lane swapping and he gets a little bit of like support assistance in the early lane, right? And that's something that I would really like to see happen. So that way it's like, okay, we've put you in a good position. You put the opposing mid laner behind. Now you need to create your own advantages off that and flourish from there. Because we see almost every team do that, and really gives a leg up to your mid laner.
No, absolutely. We are, I think, waiting for walkouts at present, so the teams are, you know, nice and ready. Yanni, I don't think we get told sort of who's doing the 1v1. What are your expectations? What are we thinking? Because yesterday we had a support, right? Do you think there's any mad support players that are going to try and throw their hat in the ring, or is this going to be top laners once again, just Cube 369 battling it out? Or I'll pose you an alternate question: who would you play in a 1v1?
All right, who would I play? All right, so me personally, I'd play Lucian in a 1v1. He's one of my favorite champions and is a great 1v1 duelist. We saw a couple nights ago that it didn't go so well against the Victor.
Yeah.
But you know, that's what happens when you go Negatron Cloak first. I just hope we don't see Heimerdinger versus Corki. You know, if you know, you know. I had to cover that one for Demacia Cup, and man, I am so glad we're off Summoner's Rift and we're on Howling Abyss with the giant burning circle, because that is, please, man, I don't want to see any more 100 CS as we finally get the walkouts. Man, this is beautiful. I love this.
It's such a cool studio as well. Like, studio, stadium. What would we call it?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Both of them, right?
We call it awesome.
That stage is massive as well.
Can we talk about how LPL has the greatest tagline in the world with "Crazy is our game"?
It's an embracing of their culture and their heritage from prior. Because I think that the sort of narrative around LPL also sort of years gone by was, oh, crazy team flips every fight, massively fast-paced games. But they've evolved as well. So the Crazy is our game is sort of an homage to where they were, and I think going forward, a team or set of teams that can definitely challenge at the top with a bit of macro as well.
Let's see, top esports walking and presenting themselves to the crowd. The team that is certainly going to be very frightening for other teams to stand across the rift from. You know, again, high expectations for these guys. You know, obviously it is January 18th, and saying, yeah, we expect these guys to go to Worlds is definitely very, very far in the future. But those expectations are there, and you know, when they are, you have to play toward them.
No, exactly. And when those, as you said, expectations are so high, it can be daunting as WE to be a fresh team of newly put together faces. And okay, we're playing against a team that people are expecting to go to Worlds and do pretty well. So let's see how we can do as well. Yeah,
there's really, I mean, I hesitate to say no pressure, but the pressure is certainly lessened a little bit. I mean,
absolutely.
You're going up against the squad that you're not expecting to take down. You know, you can play with a little bit of reckless abandon, and especially since you're getting a minimum of 3 games, at least one of these games, they could just be like, hey, we're going to go with something hyper aggressive or pull out something a little wacky, try to catch them off guard. And that's what I would like to see out of at least one game. I don't know what game it could be when they're down to, if they're down 2-0, I should say. But it's just something like that.
Yeah, if you can't beat them playing standard, beat them playing crazy, and that's the ruling that you should. Hey, we learned somewhere, right? If you know, you're 2-0 down, you're trying to play scaling compositions. Maybe we throw Draven against Jackulov and we see what happens when he's forced to deal with the menace that he's known to have created.
We love creating menaces and then having to deal with them. So we're awaiting who the 1v1 challenge is going to be. Again, super excited to see this because of the differences that have occurred. So you asked me, I'm going to ask you. I was so rude of me not to. Who would you play?
No. I think that if I was playing a 1v1, I would honestly play Cassiopeia. And I would pray that I could just take a tier and win. Because I need mana. But I think Cassio might be just the funnest 1v1 champ. You hit Qs, you win the game. You don't hit Qs, you lose instantly.
Yeah. And then you go super fast too when you hit Qs. You're just like slithering around, going crazy.
Maybe it sucks in
definitely does a lot
1v1.
of damage. Yeah,
Quite possible.
I don't know. I feel like Exhaust against the Cassiopeia is like so killer. Like obviously against some champions, Exhaust is killer, but like Cassiopeia is like one of the ones I think in the same vein of like Callisto, where she gets really hit hard by the slow, especially.
I mean, the clarity doesn't exist on Summoner's Rift anymore, right? So I couldn't even take that. Clarity's the summoner spell.
No, it's not on Summoner's Rift though.
Gives mana, yeah.
It's on Howling Abyss.
That's true. They've moved it
So
to
you
Howling
can
Abyss.
take
Maybe I could get away with cleanse and clarity on Cassio.
Clarity.
And then if
Bro,
they
that's
exhaust me, I cleanse it. If I run out of mana, I clarity, and then
I have a
win.
confession to make. So
Yeah?
when I was, back in the day in Silver in like Season 3, Veigar was like my favorite champion. I would take Clarity Veigar into the mid lane. I'd go flash Clarity because I would just want to farm up as many. This is back when like Q was a point and click, by the way, too.
Yeah.
I would farm up as much as I can with Q, and then like when my opposing laner had to back because they had no mana, I just pop my Clarity.
Easy.
Yeah, no big deal. And this is before everybody was like on teleport as like the tech too. So I just got to stay forever. They'd stay around because I had no mana. Boom, Clarity. Now you're dead. So that summoner spell's got a really soft spot in my heart. And I'm very sad that you can't take it on the Rift anymore. But God,
I'll take it
when
into
I
a
realized,
1v1 for you. Don't worry.
when I realized that it wasn't so good, I never used that summoner spell again on the Rift, bro. Like, I don't know what I was thinking.
I use it on if I'm lucky enough to roll Lux on Aram, I will take Summoner Spell then, but that is about it.
All right, top laners going at it. 369 versus Cube, and I kind of love the dichotomy of champions that get banned. Right? It feels like somebody is always like, oh, I want to ban like top lane-esque champions, and the other one's like, I get these 80 carries the hell out of here. I wonder if that's like a gentleman's thing, right? It's like you ban all the top laners, I'll ban all the 80 carries. Don't worry, bro. I got
Yeah,
you.
we'll handshake on what gets banned before. So Heimerdinger's still open, which is
Please
one
no,
of those.
please no, please no, please no, please
And
no.
you,
please
and
no.
you said Corki as well, right? Heimerdinger Corki.
Corki
was your
I can live
feared
with.
matchup. Okay.
Yeah, I can live with that because the Corki can spur some action. As the 1v1 god Callista is gone. Here's Corki. Oh no, bro. This
We're
kind of
set
looks like
up
shit
for it.
passing in
We're
the
set
night.
up for
This
it.
kind of looks like shit. Oh wait, can they do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
So it's
I didn't know
technically
that.
blind pick. We've
Oh, I
had
actually didn't know that.
Draven
I'm
versus
keeping a
Draven
stack.
before.
I missed that one. I'm a little bit behind on odds. I actually had no idea. I was
When,
like, who determines who gets first pick? But
No, there was a really interesting Draven versus Draven one where they were stacking axes on. This was
on
when it
top
was
of
still
each
on
other.
Summoner's
Yeah,
Rift.
yeah.
Yeah, and they would try and stack their axes on camp so they could walk into lane with 2 axes and all this good stuff. And I mean, the timer's gone down, but the thing is still flashing. So we'll
Are
see
you
if it
really
ends up
sure
getting
you want
locked
Corki
in.
here?
Heimerdinger looks way
It's
better.
still
Cube.
flashing.
We
It's still flashing.
There
All right,
you
he's
go.
locked it in. But, that's the kind of lock-in you get where it's like you're the last one to pick, and all your friends are like, pick your champion, and you're just running back from the bathroom, and you're at 0 for like 5 seconds, and you're like, all right, I guess the game just decided to let me lock in a champion.
Yeah,
But it's going to be the
he didn't
Corki v
dodge.
Corki mirror. Rude dude, what's your experience with the Corki v Corki mirror?
This is the good thing about mirrors is whoever wins is definitely the better player, clearly, right? Because
oh my goodness,
you
bro.
get given the same kit. You get given the same kit, which is what I think is really important, and you get the same range, so you have to space appropriately. And it's who's got that better understanding of the minions as well, right? If you try and take aggro from a minion wave, you're a little bit doomed. If you don't take that aggro and your enemy is tanking just 1 extra auto attack from a ranged minion the entire time, that can add up over the course of a fight. So I think that if you can dodge Phosphorus Bomb, that's the real skill expression, I guess. If there's a way in which you can find W damage on your opponent, that's also very useful, and that's like the extra that you're going to be able to find in this. Because Gatling Gun, it's going to hit you regardless, right? If you're auto-attacking, you're going to get hit by Gatling Gun. If they miss the Q on you, you have an advantage in the trade. If you land any W damage, you have the advantage in the trade. Those are the small bits that can change around.
I love that you mentioned the minions, by the way, because in this matchup, because of the Gatling gun, it's huge. 1 extra minion gets so much more mileage because your armor is getting shredded. So we'll see if that comes into play. Everything's the same except we see 369 going for a tier while Cube wanted the extra damage picking up that longsword.
So theoretically then, in these shorter all-ins, we expect to see Cube come out on top, has a little bit of extra AD, but if we end up going till, I don't know, 100 CS, we're going to see 369 has a lot more mana in the tank and can probably take more trades in the long run.
Yeah, it's really going to be on Cube to take down 369 and keep a decent amount of health left, so that way when 369 comes back, Cube can just dump everything he's got onto it, get that recall in, and then come back and be like, okay, cool, we're on one apiece. You already see Cube going in, forcing the barrier out from 369 and doing a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, so I think so far 3 Qs landed successfully from Cube. He also dodged 369 phosphorus bomb with the Valkyrie forward. So some nice little mechanics coming through from Cube, just knowing exactly what he needs to do to win out on this matchup. He's clearly got the stream open on his second monitor so that he knows what the win conditions are. But we're already starting to see that, you know, Cube's mana a little bit lower overall. 369 has enough in the tank to probably keep it going. Both potions now being used, and we're going to see those health pools begin to equalize and how that ends up affecting these trades.
He's hitting these phosphorus bombs because he's called Cube. He's not called Woob. You know, he's hitting them Qs, but he missed one of them, and now 369 gets to go on, but he misses that one too. Yeah. This is weird, man. They all started missing Qs all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I think still with double ignite up for both of these players, Cube has got to try and deal with a larger minion wave, so you might want to try and thin that out before he goes for a bit of an all-in, but 2 ignites up, kill pressure relatively high, you'd think.
Yeah, well, W for W means that everything's all right, but 369 has a lot more mana. You know, you mentioned that tier might come into play, and it certainly is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep it a stack right now. The difference between these two players is not 45 mana, but it's certainly what is giving 369 the advantage temporarily. Comes back out, though, Phage and the CS lead as well, if we are going to end up going to that, you know, first tower, 100 CS, whatever type of milestone we're looking for. It's going to come down to the wire, and that extra bit of CS advantage is going to be something to keep our eyes on, because that's a wave lost under the turret from Cube. So again, experience becomes important to play about as well.
I think the one big difference here is that Cube having the 2 potions, definitely something worth mentioning. Both of them still have their ignites up, but items overall fairly even, except 369 now has that tier ahead of Cube. So see if that actually ends up mattering at all by the time we get down to it. I don't really think we're going to see any Muramanas come out, to be honest.
No. I mean, currently, right, 369 has a strict advantage because he has that extra mana pool, and now they're matched for items. There's 125 health that Cube has got stacked up in that health potion that will be sort of in his favor if they end up needing the time to pop those potions. But 369 currently has the run of things, has the wave sort of pushing in, but has the CS lead, which is the more important part, and has barrier up as well.
Got a level advantage too. W for W, but Cube is taking so much damage. Force the barrier again. And that nice little big one just to capitalize that trade.
Yeah, so ignite for barrier now, and then by extension, they're both going to have both of those summoner spells. Respectively, if Cube goes for an engage as well. You can see, though, down on experience. Now with that level 8, should be looking to, you know, stay at least a little bit even with the farm.
Yeah, it's so hard for him to touch the wave because 369 at any moment can just W in, and if he's just a little bit faster than Cube, and Cube's a little slow to react, you'll be just missing so much HP. I love it. He's trying to zone him off the wave here.
Yeah, I mean, if you can slow play this, can just end up going for the 100 CS. I don't know that there's particularly been one of those just yet, but when we get around to, you know, maybe the end part of this game, Cube's going to have to go for an all-in, and I think that's what the recall's for. The issue is going for an all-in at this stage. It's going to be down experience, and the difference in levels might end up being enough to allow 369 to win that all-in, and if he just also matches the base, he's not going to get all in, and he's going to come back with just as much gold, maybe even a little bit more, and continue to win out in this 1 versus 1.
Yeah, and even then, you're going to have to do it twice. It's just looking really, really poor here for Cube. I mean, he's down 20 CS. You know, even if this is a CS victory, as much as I memed on it earlier, Corki v Corki has been quite a bit more exciting than Corki v Heimerdinger was, so I'm totally okay with that. Now we're starting to see a big difference in items here with 369 picking up those steel caps and Cube getting that Hearthbound axe.
Yeah, so the general rule of thumb is early on, tanks are really good because items don't get to outscale them until a lot later on into the game. So picking up plated steel caps really early is going to be very valuable. And as 369 here, this feels like a concession of, okay, as long as he doesn't kill me, I'm going to win in CS. So I can just take plated steel caps, let him farm to his heart's content because I'm going to be able to farm as well and he's not going to be able to kill me.
Cube is going to have to take some action at some point soon. He is down 8 CS, and I think if you're expecting one of the best top laners in the world to go down 8 CS or 9 CS to actually take a win, it's not really going to happen as they're trading some auto attacks. Cube getting chunked out and forced to Valk away.
Yeah, and I mean, you also do just win trades with plated steel caps, which feels a little bit awful for Cube because he's down on levels, down on experience, down on CS, hasn't really got a metric going in his favor currently, and at a certain point you kind of just have to flip an all in. The early levels, like 1 through, or from level 3 onwards, were okay for Cube up until about level 5, and then 369 started to really run away with it. But Trinity Force is finished now, so maybe this is his all in, this is his spike.
There's his chance. We'll see what 369 is able to pick up for himself. I think nope, he's going in. He's just going to grab that axe. Didn't have enough gold for anything else. As the giant ring of fire is going to slowly surround these players, Rudude. It just feels like Cube's opportunity passed him by quite some time ago.
Yeah, and I think with the ring of fire, I guess this really decentralizes backing from here on in because they're losing out now on the opportunity to do so. Shout out observers, man. This is really cool.
That's like the Northern Lights of League of Legends, except they're lethal.
yeah, that's actually very accurate. They are obviously on the ground, but here we go. I guess we're gonna fight.
Well,
how close does
you're
this
gonna have
get?
to. Well, we'll see. Cube is ready to go. He's gonna Valk on top of 369, burn the barrier, burning ignites.
Trinity
Barrier
Force.
still in the back pocket for 369. Cube is so low, and he will go down. The victory goes to 369, and Top Esports will get side selection.
Woo! There we go. Okay, nice to see then that at least Cube didn't go down without a fight. And I think that when you're going in for that, there was the expectation. Okay, I'd probably lose here, but let's try and figure it out. I mean, small little thing that's worth mentioning. A couple of rockets dodged there by 369. Cube not quite as lethally accurate as he needed to be. The big one going wide, but by and large, just as solid early there for 369 as he gets, as I think for the person playing the 1v1 as well, just getting to play on the stage can be quite valuable, but getting the win as well, definitely a lot better.
Yeah, Team WE, congratulations. You now have the opportunity to ban Skarner, Rumble, and Callista on red side. I assume that's what's going to happen here, just because B1 has been so powerful recently, it feels like, and it was weird because there was a point of time during 2024 where it looked like red side was really getting the better of blue. A lot of teams were opting into red side just because of how many power picks were available and determining that R1, R2 is much stronger than B1. I'm interested to hear your opinion on that.
I mean, we commentated very different leagues back in 2024. I was always blue side supremacy over in the NLC, as far as I'm aware. People were just, we need blue, and trying to figure out what they can get from taking blue side. But I think that coming into, there's no shock. Currently in the LPL, blue side supremacy all the way, and you highlighted perfectly what those red side bans need to be. So moving into what this series should look like, if either of those 3 bans are dropped, it becomes very obvious what's going to happen. So far, what we've seen from the drafts I'm quite interested in is how the AD carries have sort of been pinched a little bit. You'll see Ashe and Varus typically traded. There have been a couple of games where that's not been the case, but my eyes are always down on who gets the power pick of Ashe and Varus, because in case people aren't aware, AD carry's not in the strongest state currently, but picking Ashe and Varus gives you that little bit of utility, so that even though your champions don't do a lot, or rather that your damage isn't too high, your kit is still providing damage, or helpful utility to the team, I should say.
Yeah, we love our utility AD carries in this household. As much as I'd love for every AD carry to get an opportunity in the limelight, it's not quite the case. And for both of these AD carries, it's it's pretty nice to see that Varus is their most played champions for both of them. But there's certainly a bit of a dichotomy between the two of them. Jackie Love has played almost 100 games on Varus in his career with a 71% win rate. And on the other side, Taeyun has played 35 with a 23% win rate. That is a little tough, but, of course, different leagues they're playing in, especially with Jackie Love playing in a Tier 1 league and Taeyun, splitting some time between LCKCL and LCK itself. And wow, look at that. Off the board are Kalista and Skarner over on red side.
Well, it's actually top then that banned the Rumble. Don't really want to take it in this first game. I think this gives them some good flexibility as well, because going into a theoretical red side on game number 2, they can think about what bans they're going to end up going with. I also love this Udyr ban that we get to see. A little bit of a shout out to Cube, who's been a very good Udyr player for the most part of his top playing career. So with the rework coming through and that champion seeing a little bit of presence there, just a little bit of a, we don't fancy that today.
I hope I'm not wrong. Those cosplays in the crowd looked like Fairy Court cosplays. That I think I looked.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, listen, I'm a bit of a skin aficionado. I own quite a few of them. As Vi, the final ban for Team WE, and we're going to see a first pick Asante come through for TES.
Interesting. Okay, so we'll see if Cube has got anything in his locker to try and answer this. Typically, you want things like Fiora, Camille, right, as straight up answers in the lane, but not something that we've seen work too well in competitive without a lot of planning going into it. With all of those bans focused largely toward the top side of the Rift, you have got Ashe Varus still very much open and available. Taking it away from Jackie Love on the Varus' side, not something that we can knock. Very good idea, and maybe Taeyun can look to maybe increase that win percentage just a little bit more. The utility from the ulti, just far too powerful.
Yeah, Team WE is hoping that's going to be the case, and for Tian Jun, we'll see if they give him a fairly strong jungler. They're going to go with the Victor here. So already, Team WE getting some, perceived power picks, although it does feel like that Victor's popularity has waned just a little bit.
Yeah, I think this champion's still really strong if you get to late game, right? And that's the crux that they have to try and break through. Currently, they've got some really good late game damage, and with the Varus as well, they have got decent early game setup, decent ability to play out these early stages and try and find some fights down on that bot side. Really does depend on how top esports look to answer. But what their theory is, with Skarner banned, we will just take probably the next best jungler on the Rift, or they will go for a piloted Nocturne Orianna combo. I like the idea of taking these two together. Obviously, full Fearless means you don't get to play the champion again, so they're just going to take both of them together and try and get some nice combos going.
One of the craziest things that I found out while studying all of these players is Kanavi has only played 2 games of Nocturne in his career. He's 0-2.
Welcome to number 3.
Which is actually kind of crazy. So, I anticipate they'll be just fine. I mean, even my friends and I can execute Nocturne Ori, so I have no doubt that Kanavi and Cream are going to be able to do just fine. But what is shocking is that Ashe was not picked up for TES, so it's going to be on the ban list.
I mean, I guess that their theory is then that they can probably play something just as fine into this. We've seen a couple of Caitlyn hovers as well, so if you're trying to match the range of the Varus at the very least, they know pretty much what they're going to be going up against for that bot side with the Varus. Currently for WE, they're missing out on some semblance of engage. Their option is currently that they could theoretically go, and hear me out on this, Yanni, this might sound like a crazy idea. It's called AD Jace. It's this new build that I've seen popularized in the West, where people build Manamune on Jace instead of going full tank. And building that as well as a Varus, if you go Manamune there, you actually have decent poke with this composition. But what we're expecting is you get this tank-style Jace, which doesn't really engage, but you do have Varus and Victor for the consistent DPS. They're missing that front line, that snap to pull the trigger. That's probably going to come from Vampire and Chanzhen.
Yeah, it's been a Vampire special to play engaged champions, and he's going to pick up Rakan, the winningest support in the LPL to start the season. So, you know what? I'll take it. That is the exact engage that you want, and we'll see how they round out their composition. Meanwhile, for the side of TES, you need an AD carry and a support, and when you're staring down what WE is packing, they got a lot of options to them. Maybe we'll see Corki for a 3rd time today already, and not even a full game.
No, I mean, we're game 1 into the series. This is the 3rd Corki that we're going to see take to the stage, which is quite cool. And then there's Leona is still available, Nautilus, Rakan has got some fairly decent answers, to be honest with you. The reason that you take the Leona here is because Rakan, if he tries to jump in, you can just snap CC him with a quick stun on Leona's side and blow him up very quickly if you layer that CC correctly. So wouldn't be surprised to see the Leona locked in here.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned earlier, it's like, oh, well, WE is still missing some of that tankiness. I mean, they still are with that Rakan getting picked. He's a lean champion, I like to call him. He's not super squishy with the way he builds, but he's certainly not a tank. We'll see the final pickup is here. This legendary Rengar will get locked in. All right, big fan of this one. Just going to look to assassinate some of these squishies that TES has to offer. This is going to be fun.
So I think the way that Janjun usually has played the Rengar has typically been like tank and obnoxious Rengar, more so than full lethality. Okay, Orianna / Corki, you don't get to play the game of League of Legends, and
you can still build
act as that front line. Weirdly, tank items, yes you can. You're not wrong. And with a Rakan helping you out as well, I like the idea that they've got some semblance of dive. Jace can even get in the mix as well. I really don't hate this. I also love when Rengar fanatics get to play their Rengar, right? It's definitely, if there was one person in the LPL that I'd want to see pull out Rengar, Janjun is that player. So, I mean, going into game number 1, Yanni, they've got Victor Corki, or Victor Varus rather, really solid DPS for team fights. They've got this obnoxious tank Jace that's going to be able to farm grass procs for free versus a Cassante. They've got Rengar plus Rakan that can easily dive in, and the Rengar's going to be nice and tanky. The Rakan very slippery. All the pieces are there for WE. I'm really not against this.
Couldn't agree more, and they're going to have opportunities, especially with Kanavi playing this Nocturne. Listen, there's two kind of junglers that you've been seeing picked in the LPL. Junglers that farm to 6 and junglers that don't have to. And while certainly Rengar, hitting level 6 is a pretty big power spike, listen, Rengar, before he hits 6, and you hit that empowered Ebola, all of a sudden, boom, they're rooted up. You're going to be able to have some follow-up engage with the Rakan, so hopefully they're going to be able to get some kills off of that while Kanavi is a little bit preoccupied trying to grind to 6.
Worth saying as well, with the map changes that came, I think season 14 that happened, Rengar got a little bit nerfed trying to gank lanes pre-level 6 just because all the bushes got a lot further away. And
yeah.
You get incentivized to lane gank more than anything, let's say.
Ooh, I already like what we're seeing here. What are we seeing here already? It's a nice little deep ward up on the top side is Cube, and 369 trade back and forth.
All right. So 2 wards down very early on. That should be able to help out Cube if he's pushing the wave in, trying to farm some grass procs as well, make sure that his very early potential of getting ganked is a little bit mitigated. Actually, I forgot what league we're watching, Annie. It's a lane swap.
Whoopee! We love lane swaps here, and we'll see how Cube fares in the lane swap. We've seen a couple of Jaces turn around potential dives because of their relative deceptive tankiness and the hammer being able to knock people away or into turrets. So we'll see if we'll see anything fancy there.
So at least with this ward down, I guess this makes a little bit more sense that WE might look for a bit of a snap engage. I do think that Combat Summoners heavily favouring top esports if they do go for that level 1 all in. So very wisely, I think, just a little bit of poke early doors. The hail of arrows comes down, gets a little bit of chip damage in for the Varus.
I love that. And I love the adaptation that has come through for a lot of supports. I'm starting to see a lot of heals and cleanse combinations and heal barrier combinations. What do you think about those? Are you a big fan of heal in the bot lane? Because right now, this is a good heal.
I really enjoy heal. I think that there's a lot of nuance to when you need to use it, especially when you're laning up against an Ignite. Obviously, Ignite cuts the healing effect of the heal summoner spell, so burning that nice and early from Vampire, it means that they get the full value from it. And they also do hit level 2, so despite the zoning that came through from Crisp and Jackie Love, there was a power there that they were able to keep all of their experience, and then obviously they can fight back a little bit better.
Right now we're seeing Kanavi headed to the top side, Tianjun headed to the bottom side, so Cube is, I'm sure, quite happy with that, having to be on the heads up against the Cassante. Range versus melee, you'll have a good time, right?
Yeah, he's just farming grass proc, trying to get as much HP as possible, trying to establish a bit of an advantage. One of the things as well that with this matchup theoretically being so winning for Cube, so he's actually going to be able to take plates. Down on this bot side, no fortification, right? So you're able to wail away on those turrets if you see the opportunity to do so. And that can be very beneficial, whereas on this top side, given that it's seeming to be relatively close so far, if either of these two teams do get an advantage, trying to hit a plate, trying to take that early on, not going to be as possible.
You really want to squeeze out as much as you can in that matchup because once Kanavi and Cream are level 6, it's going to be really hard for Team WE to overextend even the slightest bit, right? So any plate that you can get, if you can manage to snag one somehow in this matchup this early, would be fantastic.
And this is interesting, actually. We've seen first recalls come through, and sometimes that's the indicator for people to go back to those regular lanes. Already, Crisp and Jackie Love recalled, get themselves a tier boots, walk themselves back out to that top side of the Rift. So, staying in these Australia lanes for a little bit longer than maybe we'd anticipated, and says to me that Top Esports are playing very heavily towards those grubs as opposed to trying to play towards this early dragon, keeping their strong bot lane on the top side of the Rift so that they can hopefully fight for those grubs when they spawn.
I love that Australian lanes. As long as I don't see any huntsman spiders, we're all good because those friggin'
They're
huge.
terrifying, yeah.
Oh my god. I got cousins that live in Australia, and they've sent me pictures. And I'm like, dude, I can't believe that's a thing.
They take a couple working days to load in because they're just so big.
All the graphics are there, and they're large horror. As the bot lanes, as you mentioned, already back up to the top side once again. Scrubs up in about 1 minute and 10 seconds as Vampire takes a little bit of damage for himself. And listen, if Crisp and Jackie Love continue to get those engages off, those are winning trades, my friend.
Absolutely. The thing then becomes, I guess, with this top matchup is that the Rakan can sustain a little bit. The Gleaming Quill does provide a relatively good heal for the early stage of the game. So just making sure that Crisp isn't tanking too many of those and giving too much of that health back. Yes, the trades are good, but there's always a world where Vampire can heal them back up, and you can see the health just currently very slightly beneficial to Taehyun versus Jackie Love. And one of the components of this match that we haven't particularly touched on so far is how Cream is really getting the better of these trades versus Kara. So far, hasn't bled into a CS advantage, but with no teleport on the Victor and such a low HP threshold, very real possibility that experienced and that CS starts to open up. And for a player on this WE roster that we were looking to potentially become one of those talisman, not the opening that he would have looked for in this game. Obviously took a blind pick here with the Victor, but should still be looking to keep pace with the Orianna.
Can we talk about how Command Dissonance is one of the strongest abilities in the game? I mean, he's got 3 points into it and is just chunking out Karis like it's nobody's business.
And that's what you get to see normally versus squishier opponents is this W Max Orianna. Sometimes you'll see Q if you need to, get a little bit more maneuverability. It can be punishing if that ball isn't going in the right place. This top side, we're already seeing a little bit of skirmishing. One Krug taken away. Now I'll be looking to try and find a couple back.
Tianjun on the way, but so is Cream, and Cream is level 6 right now, so Tianjun will have to back up. First set of grubs will go over to TES without much of a problem.
And this is exactly right why we saw Top Esports keep their bot lane on that top side of the Rift. Cream has been really, really proficient in this mid lane matchup so far, constantly keeping Karis under the turret, forcing them back to base and chunking them out time after time when Dissonance is available, making it really tricky for really any form of contest on that top side. You saw Tianjun poked his head in, see if he could smite one of them away, wasn't able to. The first feat of strength, that first objective already picked up then by Top Esports.
And now Kanavi is level 6, right? So they're ready to just let it rip at any time that somebody seems out of place. So WE unable to really get any meaningful advantages anywhere except for, their top lane. And even then, we know that 369 is going to be just fine. Vampire coming through in the mid lane here just to relieve a little bit of this pressure that Cream has been incessantly putting on.
And what we'll probably begin to see is a lot more focus around the mid lane. The early levels, we didn't really see anything because there wasn't a lot of kill threat. Now the Orianna has that ulti, now the Nocturne has it as well. I expect to see a lot more vision start to be placed around this mid lane to try and spot out Kanavi's movement. And also, I'd love to see Cream just let a shockwave rip, see if you can force the flash from Karis, and then that becomes a very repeatable gank in the mid lane. With a no flash Victor plus Nocturne Orianna, trying to get out of that can be very difficult for Karis, and without the proper setup, without the rest of his team giving him some support, that's going to be a bit of a struggle. You can see on this top side, getting that support from Vampire is going to be difficult. He's getting pushed in under the turret.
Here we go. Tianjun using the thrill of the hunt, trying to leap onto Cream. The shockwave's there, and here comes Kanavi. Tianjun healing up for quite a bit, but he's going to flash for flash, and Kanavi will pick up first blood.
Perfectly executed in that mid lane. Cream halts Tianjun on his entrance. Shockwave comes in perfectly timed. Make sure that the Rengar, even though he gets a big heal from his W, wasn't quite able to do enough damage. Flash away from Tianjun, not able to keep him safe, and Kanavi already out to a CS lead. That first Nocturne Paranoia, so pivotal, has been a success.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really fault Tianjun for that, right? It feels like at some point you have to start taking action, taking initiative. You know, unfortunately, because he didn't hit 6 before Kanavi, he couldn't do it. But listen, he called a shot, he went for it, didn't work out.
Gets a little bit of a replay then of how this all started off, and you know, largely avoiding vision, but as soon as Cream gets this indicator over his head, knows, and just as soon as that jump starts to come through, stops him in his tracks, and you see that the empower there, so much of your damage comes from an empowered Q on Tianjun there. Has to use it for the W to keep himself safe, and then all of that damage is missing, and you don't have the damage to kill Cream. Everything starts to fall a little bit flat, and Karis not quite able to pick up the pieces either. Still, this early game victory, definitely weaker phase of the champion.
You know, it felt potentially a bit rushed there. Karis did not have his laser to use on Cream there, which ended up being very critical because that could have been enough damage to potentially take him out. So maybe it's just he used it before the play was made, or they weren't 100% on the same page. It's something to look out for.
Yeah, at the very least, right, you burn the flash from Cream. I think that getting a kill there is always going to be very skeptical, but those first ultis in the mid lane should largely be to try and force flashes, and with now Cream having that shockwave back up again, I think that's again something I'd love to see him try and look for. But the grubs are spawning in 15 seconds up on this top side. Top Esports, they've still got this top or bot lane in the top side. They've got winning mid lane, and they've got Kanavi, who's on that full item already picked up. 2 seconds until the Paranoia comes back up, and that syncs up pretty much perfectly with these void grubs. So you can expect to see 6 grubs be something that the Top Esports roster are looking to try and navigate their way through this early game.
Good word for the side of WE, so they know that Kanavi was on the way as TES has congregated on top of those grubs and are starting them up. I don't know if there's anything WE can do. Well, the hunt is active. Vampire wants to get in, but Karis is just on the other side of the wall right now. Here we go. Vampire going to go in, land the knock-up. They're trying to do as much damage as they can to Cream. Members are so low, and flying over is Kanavi to scare 1 kill. Big shockwave lands onto 3, and now Tianjun is the next target. He will fall, and now they're going for Taeyu next. He's down 2. Karis, as you mentioned, can't pick up the pieces. It's a triple kill for Kanavi.
And it's 4 for 1 on the top side. Crisp may fall, but the sins of his team are far, far fewer. Very well played by Top Esports. They're able to take down the entire cohort of WE that dared to show their face at the Void Grubs. The only real saving grace here is that Tianjun was able to take away one of these grubs and deny one of those feats, but you can see great flash out by Cream keeps himself alive, and Taeyun unfortunately just steps into what was a mammoth shockwave from Cream. Set up that fight beautifully, and Kanavi, experimental hexplate already up, locked and loaded, able to wail away on the WE roster.
Yeah, WE just couldn't pick up the ball. They saw it was there and they said, ooh, shiny, and unfortunately for them, Cream was ready to hit that R button. We love seeing big shockwaves here. I'm sure everybody does. At least my favorite ability. TES in the driver's seat. We talked about having a clean early game and wanting to see that. Well, it really doesn't get that much cleaner than this.
No, I mean, the next port of call, try and take yourselves a dragon, pick up that second marker of defeat, and maybe they can break open a turret as well. We're looking, 12.5 minutes, probably another minute and a half until those plates fall, and you can really start to think about making big scale movements to turrets to try and knock them down. But the game is in their hands currently, and Vampire is about to walk right back into it.
Yeah, and Cream's Shockwave is available too, so they're heading over to Vampire when I think they want to turn on to Karis here. There's the Shockwave, the Paranoia on top of it. Kanavi picks up kill number 5. He is rolling right now.
And for a player who we had criticised coming into the day based off of a relatively underwhelming performance in the Marcia Cup relative to what we were expecting, it's good to see that Kanavi is pumping again and back into that position of jungle dominance, at least for this game number 1.
And this turret is certainly going to fall. 5 grubs for TES means that they're going to eat this one up pretty cleanly, and they're going to pick up their feats of strength.
Yep, so really well played. First blood, first turret. The fact that they get 1 grub stolen away, not the end of the world, and they'll be able to take those tier 3 boots a little bit later on into the game. Have started to open up that map as well, and if you can just move Kanavi Cream around as a duo, they're going to be able to do so much work wherever you take them. Usually you move your bot lane to an area of the map to try and take the turret, but I think that this game, it's moving Kanavi, it's moving Cream, and making sure that those 2 pieces are wherever you try and take the fights.
Now, there's a question I have for you, because all that thought is Jackie Love has the Valkyrie out. So say, well played Valkyrie there. He sussed that one out. But, a lot of dragons are getting taken so late here in the LPL. Why is that?
I think that there's so much priority, really, on those Void Grubs that Drake becomes a second factor, almost, because of the way that now Atacon works in some instances as well, where, okay, if I get this, the chance that I'm able to have increased Void Grub bonuses, so there's quite the incentive to focus yourself on that top side and try to keep those grubs in your back pocket. And the fact that we're seeing games, I don't think necessarily get faster, but a lot more geared toward this top side of the rift. As Crisp is maybe caught.
He's all alone, but Kanavi's got the ball on him. Balmy Blazer, big shockwave. Crisp will fall, but Cream is in the area. Tian Jun ignited, is able to limp out, so it really ends up being a 1-for-1 in the end.
Alright, but once again, Top Esports going to be the team that looked to try and press the advantage. They were down on numbers in that fight, but they got a 1-for-1, a 1-for-1, and they're still pushing their way down on the spot side, trying to take this turret also. What does that mean if there's a numbers advantage for them down, or numbers disadvantage even, down on the bot side, is that they get free time mid lane, free time for Jackie Love to continue farming up. Taeyun, you can see, burned his flash, also having to catch this bot wave, so he's missing out a little bit. Yes, his TP will go through, but the turret's going to fall anyway.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. It was close, but
and in the game as well, Yanni, where your AD carry so early on is matching levels of the mid laner.
Oh,
it's a really,
it's great.
Quite a disastrous sign.
Oh yeah, well, it's great if you're the AD carry, man. Like Jackie Love, I'm sure this man is chuffed right now, bro. 1-0-3. He's got his Trinity Force. This bro is as happy as a clam.
When did you cross the pond? I didn't know you were familiar with the word chuffed like that.
Listen, bro, I saw the picture of the little rabbit that like somebody sold like a little carpet for this rabbit, and the guy takes a picture of it and sends it and says, "Little man is chuffed."
I've just never heard an American say that word, and it made me giggle, which is quite nice. Taeyun looking for something a little bit down on that bot side, just lurking in the brush. Maybe you can use Chain of Corruption to pick off Cream if he's unsuspecting, but something was suspecting, I guess, in his spidey senses, and he wasn't stepping up. Top Esports already out to a very strong early lead, and with this Herald and 5 grubs, your expectation is that they'll be able to break open that bot tier 1 and probably break open the rest of this game without too many difficulties. For WE, their hope is that the game doesn't end in the next 10-15 minutes and that they can get some items on Taeyun, get some items and evolutions on Karis, hope that they can scale, hope that they can be late game menaces, late game phenoms, but currently it's looking pretty rough.
It's going to be so hard just because Kanavi and Cream have this incredibly easy to execute go button, with the Rift Herald as well. I mean, sometimes you're saying, hey, we're going to drop a Rift Herald in, X lane just to get this outer turret, but I think that TES probably have grander plans for that.
I would expect so. If that was where the ball stopped for TES, we'd maybe be just a little bit disappointed. But you can already see the fact that Jackie Love is the furthest member up on his team. He's Valkyrieing forward into the engaged support. Really a good commentary on how this game is going. But we've got a Drake spawning, and now Kanavi's caught.
They're going to chase him down. He's going to turn out the lights, holding the shockwave here, trying to do something.
Into
Hit a
Solar
couple of members. Crisps will catch Karis, and Jackie Love and Kanavi will be able to clean him up on the backside. It's just a matter of how long it's actually going to take. Kanavi will chop him down. Tian Jun will be chased down by Crisp. Cream gets his first of the game. And that's just how the cookie crumbles for WE.
Yeah, I don't know if it came across, but the word caught there was definitely in air quotes for Kanavi, because really more of a bait and switch sort of lured in WE, and they did end up falling for the bait, not able to take down what is a very high bounty at this stage on Kanavi's head. But with all of those grubs as well that spawn out of the Rift Herald, very easy to take down this bot tier 2. Maybe can even look for a little bit extra. How was your driving?
It's looking pretty good here. Bang! Kanavi slams that one right in and is going to spell shield Vampire's knockup, so he'll be able to limp out while his bot lane takes the mid inner turret. And this is just an absolute deconstruction of WE right now.
This is very clinical from Top Esports, and coming into the series, what did we say? This is what we needed from them to start having those high expectations. And so far they've absolutely delivered. So this is the quote-unquote bait that Kanavi ended up putting down and potentially being caught, but you can just see the zone pressure that ball provides, and especially when the darkness is up, it's so difficult to try and track where the Ori ball is. Taeyun gets caught by the shockwave, has to flash out of the solar flare, so he's not doing DPS. Karis not fortunate enough to have a flash at this stage. He gets caught up, and it's just going to continue to get picked off. That's the power of this Nocturne Ori combo, and the power really that comes from seeing what the enemy carries are going to look like. You've picked 2 immobile AD carries versus Nocturne or Blind. They've taken Nocturne Orianna, and Top are really taking you to the cleaners for it.
I want to really shout out Cream there for that shockwave, because there's only 2 paths you can really go, and he decided to stay away from all the action by being on the outside wall and moving up just enough so that he can move the ball up to be able to catch 3 of them. That was a really, really good Orianna ball management that I love to see. It's one of my favorite champions, so good Oriannas always get me excited. As TES heads to the top side of the map now to knock down the last inner turret. They have not yet been able to find. Otacon has spawned, and I wonder which Otacon it is. We'll find out.
Sure,
maybe we'll find out. I'm not entirely sure either. Tian Jun has to flash away, and it's bad here for WE.
Yeah, the thing for Top Esports right now is they don't need the Otacon to take this top tier 2. If they can use Otacon to push down the tier 3 turrets, that's going to be even better. I think that what we can see as well, and I think a bit of an adaptation for some teams, is leaving Otacon up. Especially when they're ahead, if you get Otacon buff plus Baron at the same time, that can be devastating. The 2 can spawn sort of in tandem, so you give it a couple of minutes, maybe you're able to find a decent way into the enemy's Nexus almost.
Boo. It's Ravenous Otacon.
Ruinous.
Ruinous? Is that?
Yeah.
No,
I think so.
No, Ruinous is the gray one. That's the.
But there's Ruinous and there's Voracious.
Oh, it's Voracious. I'm sorry. Wrong hungry word. As Kanavi goes all the way in. Can't quite close out on a kill here, as Team WE is trying to do what they can to disrupt TES. Gotta be wary of that Orianna ball as Otacon drops below 6,000 HP. Just trying to get the tether off and have him do as much damage as possible to TES.
This is sapping their resists here. For WE, this might be the best chance they get, but Vampire's been marked.
Yeah, he's off to the side, trying to do what he can. Jackie Love a little bit low, but here comes the taunt, and Cuba's going to fly in, but he's in a 1v4 right now, and he doesn't have the damage because he's tanked Jace. He's going to get ripped apart as Jackie Love leads the charge. Takes a lot of damage from the Victor. Just 4 members left standing, a little bit of low health bars, and TES will walk it out.
And worth mentioning, while all this is going on, there are so many waves being lost by WE as well. Their mid wave pushed really deep. The bot wave also just losing minions under the turret. So whilst they've stopped the Otacon, they've lost out on so much gold once again. So even though Top didn't find anything physical as an advantage, they denied a lot of resources just by wasting WE's time. And on this fight, obviously not actually any kills going down as Vampire able to just barely slink away. And Cube, the sort of sacrificial lamb, I suppose, more so than anything. But with all of that, and not a kill post it, and no objective coming through off the back of it, feels really difficult for WE, because that was probably the best chance they were going to get.
Yeah, they just couldn't get in there, right? It just felt like they saw Cube go in, and it felt like WE was like paralyzed with fear. They didn't want to go in too close because they had no idea where Cream was. Cream's still a shockwave up, right? And they're in between two walls because of that wall that Otacon puts up.
It just becomes such a difficult fight to try and navigate. And now Cream as well has taken that book in, so 12 stacks already picked up for the Medjais, hoping to make it to that beautiful 25 threshold rather quickly. And I think the way that this game is going, the deaths for Cream, certainly not something that we've seen all that much of. And now that we've seen the Otacon fight attempted once, you can see teams resorting back to standard laning nature, which is, okay, we've got 369 down on the bot side. He's got teleport, which is the important part, is that if he needs to join a fight on this top side, he's more than able to do so. He should be looking to try and move his way into that top side as soon as he pushes all of those bot waves. But just the clinical nature of how top esports are playing this, no minion is going unfarmed. Every piece of CS getting picked up.
Shockwave lands and Tianjun falls. Vampire has to retreat for the safety of his team, and that means for TES, everything on the map can be theirs. This Dragon in 35 seconds, this Otacon up now, and Baron in a minute. Even when Tianjun respawns, I mean, I don't know if there's anything WE can do, especially since TES is going to have the Guardian Angel.
Yep, they're just going to be so far ahead. And I think that with the Guardian Angel as well, yes, you can take the Dragon, but at this stage in the game, you don't need Dragon to win. One of the learning curves for this specific Otacon is recognizing that it's better to throw your life away than it is to try and recall. And maybe if you've got a lot of gold to spend, okay, yeah, sure, we can make the argument that we'll go back to base, we'll spend our gold, and then we'll just barrel it down mid lane. But when you're up 10,000 gold, the chances of the enemy being able to kill you outright, first of all, is very, very low. But the chances of them being able to do that twice for some instances, so 369 is going to have a death and then can teleport right back in 5 seconds later. There's a very real world where they don't actually need the Baron to break open the base, and they can just dive with full malicious nature to try and take these tier 3s.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of teams do it for tier 2s, so why not tier 3s? I'm sure that'll be just fine. Baron is spawned on the map, but TES couldn't care less right now as Cream and Kanavi are sieging down this mid inhibitor turret, and WE just can't get close. Now Vampire is on a flank here, so with his quickness up in about 2 seconds, they might have one good shot here with the Thrill of the Hunt popped as well. Here we go. He's going to try to get on the Jackie Love. He can't. He'll manage to get onto the Orianna. Kanavi into the backline. He'll be sent back into the base as 369 looks to chase away Karis. The ball's on him as well. Cream still has the Shockwave in the back pocket as Jackie Love getting engaged on. But again, Cube just doesn't deal any damage as the inhibitor will fall.
And now Kanavi immediately walking his way back into the team. And for top esports, they've broken open the base. Job done. That inhibitor has fallen, and with the Shockwave just getting flashed away from Tianjun, 369 leading the team out to safety. I think they can stand around. They should try and be more aggressive with this. Those neutral objectives just aren't important right now. You've got Otacon buff. You've got this really powerful GA type factor. Use it. You are wasting the buff if you don't go and die, or at least get a lot of gold from it and get a lot of value out of it. So do the same thing down on this bot side. They absolutely should be looking to do this, as it's effectively a cheat code.
Well, 369 has Cube locked up near the mid lane as Jackie Love Valkyries over the wall, and WE just has to pull back because they're going to take so much damage. Now the lights go out, and the target is there. Varus has fallen. The next one will be Vampire, as TES still has this false life buff. And now the next target is Cube. He's going to go back in to just do a little bit of damage and get the heck out of dodge. TES, the health bars are low, but they got that extra life to play with. WE in hot pursuit, but they're not doing anything, and now they're going to turn it around onto Karis. He's been slowed up. He's got the ultimate, and they will be able to take out Chris because, as you mentioned, the buff is gone. 369 goes deep. He'll go down next. Karis picking up a second one, and now Jackie Love going to be the object of their affection. Shockwave dodged out there by Tianjun. Now looking for Kanavi. but Kanavi, a tough cookie to crack.
Yeah, and I mean, some nice little fancy feat there from Tianjun, and some couple
nice.
kills at the back of the fight, but importantly, Jackie Love, Cream, Kanavi, they all get to walk away, granted with some very low HP bars. This means that the Dragon probably going to be forfeit, but what are they going to be able to do now? Oh, I've got bot inhibitor down, mid inhibitor down, Baron's up. I wonder where we're going to see top esports look to play towards. They're going to head up to that big purple worm, and they probably don't even need it to close out this game. They're just going to do it as a formality more than anything. Crisp, E flashes on to our resident upgrade for Karis, and even though the flash didn't quite work out as the buff wears out just in time, you get to see that the chase down potential for this composition certainly exists, as we get to see Tianjun constantly trying to hop through these bushes. And again, I'm not quite sure of the heads up nature of this, but just clocked Cream, knew exactly what the plan was, and it's very good game sense.
Bro, just Ultra Instinct Tianjun as Vampire, not able to dodge a damn thing, but will be able to dodge out on the Zenith Blade, so his life is not quite forfeit. As TES, they don't even go for the Baron right now. They are looking to just siege down this final inhibitor turret. And why wouldn't you?
The beauty of it is that they just don't think they need it, and blatantly they don't.
Well, Tianjun is forced all the way out. Vampire goes in, lands the knock-up and taunt onto 2. The lights are out. Let's see what Kanavi's going to do. He goes all the way in. 3-man shockwave, and the health bars melt. Cube trying to limp away, but he'll go down. A triple kill for Cream, and that should be the exclamation point on the game. TES play a pretty clean one from start to finish, and they'll take a series lead 1-0.
Really excellent performance from Top Esports. Beginning to end, they knew exactly what they needed to do, and for a opening bout in LPL Split 1, they can be very, very happy for how that game went.
Yeah, and you know what? We said it's got to be clean. Boom, check mark, right? This is a great way to start the season. And I mean, you know, Kanavi doing it on a champion that he doesn't really play that much. It looked like he's been playing it for a million years. I mean, I'm sure he's played it in solo queue and whatnot, maybe even scrims, but only 2 official games on it. And again, looked like Kanavi for sure.
Yeah, and I think that being as sort of touted and prolific as we know Kanavi can be, that felt very much Kanavi-esque in that performance more so than anything, as just consistency throughout that early game and making sure that those Shockwave, Nocturne, Paranoia combos were working out. We highlighted Cream at the top of the day. I think that Cream had a very excellent game number 1 there as well, was bullying out Karis in the early stages of the lane, was also able to help out with his jungler as well. So so far for what we were looking at for Cream, great start. Being able to bully out some of these newer players in the league, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, now for the side of WE, did we see any glimpses here? I mean, Karis was put in some difficult positions, and you know, we saw that first play with the Rengar in the mid lane that didn't quite go as planned, and you know, he picked up a couple kills here and there. It's just so hard on Victor, especially because you know, the late game is really where you shine, and didn't really get an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate answer for WE is that the bright spots for that game weren't particularly present. The highlights were Tianjun dodging out on a couple of skill shots, which,
nice.
If those are your highlights, then what does that speak to about what the lows are going to be? And unfortunately for WE, they did just get a little bit hands checked through the early stages of the game, right? The reason that those early advantages were able to be picked up, the Void Grubs in particular that I'm thinking about, were because top and mid, the lanes, not the lane assignments, not the lanes, I should say, had priority. So the Corki was constantly pushing in the Varus, which maybe not something that can happen, but Leona versus Rakan makes that possible. The Ori constantly punishing the Victor, and that just gave so much topside control that they pressured that, they used that the entire game. And WE, they cross-mapped occasionally by taking a dragon, but the Jace versus Cassante, we could have not looked at top lane this game. It was so inconsequential.
Yeah.
The fact that Cube was stacking his grasp so well, it just didn't matter.
You did it. You know, I mean,
yeah.
It didn't feel like there was that much agency to be had, especially when you're tank Jace in the scenario that they were given. So overall, really, really good stuff out of TES, and hoping for a little bit more out of Team WE. You know, as much as I loved to see the Rengar pick, I mean, ultimately in the grand scheme of the composition, you know, I think at least I was a little bit blinded by like, oh yeah, we're getting the Rengar guys playing Rengar, but you know, it didn't feel like it fit super well. It felt like it had the problems of your kind of parallel jungle clearing until you hit level 6, and one of these combinations is going to be stronger than the other.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Rengar Rakan pairing would have been where they found strength, and that just didn't materialize. Is the correct word for it? Is that they never found that synergy, that pair up between the two of them that they needed to really try and take things home. I think that had there been a potential move from Vampire on that level 6 fight mid lane, maybe it could have looked a little better, but that then has so many knock-on impacts for the implications for the top side of the Rift as well. So definitely a difficult position for WE to have been in, but the fact that we now get to see no more Rengar might be a little bit disappointing, but the fact that we get to see a game of Tianjin on the Rengar in the first place should be a win for us.
Yeah, it's always a little bit of a treat, and I like that you mentioned the roaming, or really lack thereof. I mean, we saw Vampire move once to the mid lane. You know, feels like there has to be a way to do it a little bit more, but the problem was, I mean, when he was gone, Jackie Love was full court press over on Taeyun, right? Immediately, it was ready to Valkyrie in, and I mean, in that matchup, it just feels like Corki is going to really win every time. Take a look at our post-game screenshot here. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. I love the damage that Cream put out there, the leader in the game. So I believe this causes puts up a little bit of a question here, Rudude. Who do you think will actually get the player of the game? Because Kanavi certainly did well enough to get it, but Cream is a sneaky second choice.
I would probably go Cream, to be honest. I think that Nocturne is a pick that is so facilitated by your laners, and Cream did exactly what he needed to, right? Like, in all instances, was pushing the wave, had the advantage versus Karis, and got Nocturne to level 6 safely. That's sort of one of your leading jobs as a mid laner, is make sure that your jungler isn't getting invaded on and losing those camps. Did that and more, was able to perfectly execute. I would go Cream this game without a doubt.
Yeah, excellent. I would too. I mean, like I said, I think Kanavi did quite a bit in the early game, and obviously was a huge reason why the team won. But I mean, Cream's got 100% kill participation. How can you argue with that?
Yeah, also that. I mean, there's a little bit of a cheat code. Orianna, a little bit of an enchanter in her own right as well. So if you just shield somebody who does damage, maybe you get an assist there that you wouldn't have got for doing damage. But you are exactly right. Like, he was just everywhere, did exactly what he needed to, and was pumping out damage with Medjai's as well. So I have no actual complaints about Cream.
Yeah. Hey, big shout out to Karis. 100% KP as well. I mean, obviously, that's a little difficult, but damage percentage for his team was at 32%. I mean, this is solid. Obviously, it's not the ideal conditions for Victor, but he did what he could based on the game scenario. So credit to him.
Yeah. I think that being in the places at the right times was the important part, and as the Victor as well, you really want to get those kills to try and get those upgrades a little bit earlier on, and that's why I do think that skirmishing around a Victor can be quite powerful if you pair the right composition with it, so you can sort of leech from the rest of his strong early game team to get him to that late game a little bit easier and get him to that late game and be the stronger presence a little bit earlier. But that just wasn't quite the case this game. I don't know that we ever got to see a evolution of the ulti in effect in a team fight, largely because by the time that he'd have evolved the R, the fights just weren't going their way at all, and trying to get any sort of reset was a difficult part.
It was a not so glorious evolution. And while we wait a little moment to see who the player of the game was, I do want to ask you, what do you want to see out of Team WE going into this next game?
Well, they get blue side, which should be nice. Which means that they can take Ashe, probably. Which gives them playmaking on mid. Well, it gives them playmaking, period, because they get Enchanted Crystal Arrow. So I would love to see some sort of denial of Cream, because I think that obviously him being my personal MVP.
They gave it to Kanavi.
Yeah,
I understand though.
I can understand that, but I will still respectfully disagree, as I think that Cream helped Kanavi do what he needed to do. Either way,
Kanavi also helped Cream.
Kanavi did help
the ball
Cream.
Delivery system.
No,
Why
that's
can't
true.
we have a co-MVP here, man?
They did run the Rift, yeah.
Yeah, they played like they did the fusion dance, man. Like they were just. It felt 2v5. Like, that's not to disparage everybody else on TES, but like, I mean, it really was the Kanavi and Cream show.
The other three members of the team were along for the ride, which was sometimes it's absolutely fine.
Listen,
but
sometimes they just put you in the backpack.
No, absolutely. Sometimes they need to as well. But this game probably wasn't that. 369 was just playing Cassante, man. This guy had a chill laning phase. He had to take the brunt of playing up against Jace. I think he went even in CS. Was still a tank in the late game. Kind of. Oh, my team won the game. Cool.
Yay!
Nice. Thank you.
Hey, listen, we'll always take those. And right before we head to a break, I want to just remind everybody that we are an entirely fan-run broadcast produced by passionate individuals who love the LPL just like you. And as such, we have started a Ko-Fi account that you can access in the chat. Any donations there will go directly to broadcast upgrades or paying on-air talent and the production staff. By becoming Ko-Fi members, you can also unlock perks like access to members-only servers, early access to unique content and interviews, and the most important one, the ability to suggest questions and collaborate. That one is a big one because we're hoping to get a little bit of a kickstart on interviews, fingers crossed. So if you really have some burning questions out there, become a Ko-Fi member so you can drop them to us today. So we thank everybody who is considering or even just supporting us through viewing. It really does mean a lot. But we are going to kick it to a short break while the teams split aside, reconvene, figured out what worked and what didn't. And when we return, we'll hit you with the Game 2 draft between TES and Team WE. Don't go anywhere. welcome back everybody to the LPL English's coverage of the LPL as TES took a dub over yeah, for real, bro. I mean, it's kind of shocking, I'm not gonna lie. As, TES took a dub over Team WE in pretty simple fashion for them. A good old Nocturne Ori combination just took over the game. So we'll see what the teams do for the next couple of games. Want to see a little bit more out of Team WE, and then I'm also hoping that, you know, for TES, we see a little bit more focus of on Jackie Love and Cream making plays. Obviously, it's not an AD carry meta, but, you know, we can dream.
We can indeed, and I think that's the real benchmark, is just dreaming. Currently, that TES game, I have no notes, to be honest, because they had an area of the map that they were winning in. They managed to play through that area of the map, and they took all the objectives they needed to, and won the game because of it. Like a genuinely very clinical game number one. The eyes are on WE to see how they can improve for game number two. You know, like you say, for top esports, the notes are give Jackie Love more screen time, but that's us being selfish, really, more so than anything. Myself as a bot laner would love to see wouldn't love to see a Corki, to be honest, but would love to see the AD carry popping off and doing great things. But by and large, we're looking towards top esports to continue to maintain this level of gameplay, because again, as our expectations were coming into this series, that game went how we expect this series to go. That was a clean, methodical win by top esports. Anything less is a disappointment for them. Anything extra is a boon for WE.
Yeah, and it was really the cleanest game a top team has played so far here in week one, right? Obviously, you know, there was game 3 of the Weibo Ultra Prime series where Weibo looked very sharp, but we haven't seen a team out the gate look as dominant as TES. You know, obviously, we can talk about the matchups till the cows come home and how, yes, there's a bit of a difference here between these two teams. But listen, Team WE, they're a professional League of Legends team and one of the 2 greatest regions in the world. They are a good team. These are good players. They would not be here if they weren't. So, you know, again, they're never going to roll over and just let TES walk in and take their lunch money and all of their, you know, all of their appliances and just walk out.
No, and I think that for top esports as well, this was a great way of seeing them in a quote-unquote standard game try and find an advantage. They had a game actually in the Marcia Cup versus IG, which was a level 1 bar brawl where they ended up coming out with like 9 kills at level 2 or something silly like that. So it's good to see that they're able to find those advantages elsewhere also.
Yo, I need one of those headbands. I need a headband that says Jackie Love on it, bro. Like, I would. That looks so cool. I'd wear the heck out of that, bro. You know, maybe I'll hopefully get one in time for MSI. And
we'll figure that out
there, you know, and travel there. As teams have gone through their bans, no surprises on the side of TES. We're seeing first pick Aurora come through for WE.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the point that I made going out of the game from, you know, last game is, okay, maybe they can take Ash on blue side. Top esports, they've read me like a book, gone, hey, no chance. We're banning that away, but I think that Aurora, definitely a very solid pick that they can take early doors, gives them a good amount of damage, and also gives a little bit of flexibility as well. Could be Karis, could be Cube that's going to take this pick.
Really curious if we're going to see an early mid pick for TES, or they're going to wait it out and try to get the Talia counter pick that everybody's been so happy about. See if Team WE opts into some movement, you know, get those micro stuns off as they follow up their Vi with a Misfortune, who, glad to see, is starting to rise to prominence a little bit more. I mean, she's not as utility focused and just dumps out damage.
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal gripe with Misfortune.
Tell me about it.
And I just think that if you pick tanks into the Misfortune, you tend to win.
Yes.
However, so far we haven't seen that from WE, and with the Misfortune being taken so early, I do think this is an opportunity for them to try and punish it. However, so far they've picked three non-tank champions, which is what I'm going to say, which gives Misfortune a little bit of breathing room, but equally, Wukong plus Aurora plus Renekton, their job is kill AD carry. So there's a dichotomy there, right? Of, okay, I can probably kill these champions, but equally, they can also probably kill me.
Yeah, and you're just going to say, all right, Jackie Love, I'm sorry, bro. We are going to try and come after you all game long. Gnar is going to be the pickup here for 369. We saw a couple of different hovers, Talia being one of them. I mean, I imagine if you're Team WE, you're taking Poppy off the board, and you're taking Talia off the board, because those two champions would just be game ruining to play against.
Yeah, the Poppy support could go pretty hard. Let's keep it a stack. However, I would like to see maybe Talia left open. Lies. Okay.
Listen, bro.
You're
makes sense.
You're clued in. Game 1, I was ready in the comms. You're ready in the comms today.
Dude, you listen. You gotta just be ready, so that way everybody gets their shine and everybody gets.
Well, there's the Poppy.
It fits in so nicely, bro.
Somehow coming away from top esports.
No, that makes sense. You shut out Nar, shut out Vi. All right, I'm with it.
So what we're missing then from top to begin with, they're probably going to look to match the mid lane here. Oh, well, I wasn't expecting a Vlad to match mid lane, but they did match the mid lane. So all of a sudden, from this composition that has a lot of really solid early game power with the Misfortune, the Vi, the Gnar, we've also now got insane scaling in the late game from Vladimir. So top esports not now just going to be a one-trick pony for this game. They have got tools in their arsenal to facilitate late game team fights.
I'm really surprised at the amount of Vladimir that we've seen. I mean, this is a champion that is not really a sexy pick, that you haven't seen for a long time, hasn't really had many changes over the course of time, and doesn't really seem like the meta has shifted crazy enough to be like, oh my god, we're in a Vlad meta. But I mean, this is going to be the third game he's been picked up here in the first week, and this is only game 2 of a Fearless draft, which, you'd maybe expect him to be quite a bit later. I want to know, why are these teams picking Vladimir? You have any inkling?
I mean, this might be a gut check off of game 1 where he's gone,
Facts.
okay, Karis can't punish me on the Aurora to where I play Vladimir.
That's crazy.
And he thinks he can just scale up, and I think that's a valid thing that you can do as a player if you're going to gut check how this matchup goes. Great, perfect. I think I can take the Vlad here. You do that. But equally, I highlighted that they were missing something for the late game. They were missing that emphasis more so on damage in the late stages of the game, and they've now got that. Vlad also really excels at teams that kind of want to come into him. Obviously, with the pool, you don't have to struggle to get those Tides of Blood procs onto multiple people if they're running away from you. Instead, when they're running into you, it becomes quite significantly easier. So I do quite like the Vladimir here specifically, even if the Aurora matchup could be quite challenging.
Yeah, I guess that's why it makes it just such a sick pick, Vladimir and a Gnar just running roughshod in fights where it's like, yeah, all right, Wukong, are you sure you want to go in? Okay, Renekton, are you sure you want to go in? Because it's going to just be a very bad time. So really loving what is put together here by TES. And on the side of Team WE, listen, they have go buttons themselves. If they catch TES off guard, they got go buttons, they got damage. They're going to be able to stack up some kills. So I really like that there's a more proactivity with this team composition in the early goings.
There isn't that emphasis on getting jungle to level 6 either, as much as Cyclone is incredibly powerful.
He can do he can do both.
He can do both. The Wukong can be in lanes early on and can try and punish people who have stepped a little bit too far forward. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not those punishments do end up coming through, or whether we get to see once again Kareem Kanavi kind of run the show. I do think that when you've got Vi Vladimir, you are weaker than you were with Nocturne Ori as a duo. So just the relative... Wow.
What is that?
Okay, that's incredible. But the relative strength of this duo specifically does go down. And hold the phone. When was the last time somebody didn't take TP mid lane? Cream has got Ghost.
Bro, okay. It
probably wasn't that long ago, but...
Yeah, alright, so that is going to put a pretty interesting wrinkle onto things, especially because Tianjun is going to be able to get to this mid lane, right? And if you can manage to force Cream to back, I mean, listen, that is a huge win for WE. You don't necessarily need to get a kill there in order for Karis to get ahead, so something to watch out for. As here in the early going, just a lot of wards placed down, but much ado about nothing otherwise.
So there's a really cool interaction actually between the Vlad and the Aurora, which we may yet end up seeing. So as Cream is just taking autos for free. Obviously Vladimir pool stops you from being targetable, but if the first part of the Q from the Aurora hits,
pull it back.
You can't pull it back, but it comes back anyway if he's in pool. So it's like a weird dichotomy of the two.
Yeah, you know,
A mix of both.
it's got weird in your abilities, and you know, does weird interactions with Vladimir. As we saw WE make a nice aggressive invade there, forcing Kanavi away and to start on his top side with a low HP. As Vampire looking to posture here with Braum. Feels like many players have fallen victim to early Braum passive.
No, I mean, so much has already happened in this early game, to be honest with you. So, WE sacrificed the first 3 melee creeps, which means that they are going to get level 2 a lot later. However, they have got bot side controls, so Jackie Love and Crisp can't actually engage and look to punish that like they probably should do. Now, this won't mean too much right now, but I think that as the game gets just a little bit later and the lane extends a little bit further beyond, we should see Crisp and Jackie Love really start to hammer home an advantage pre that level 6 marker. Also, obviously, Kanavi very much delayed on his jungle clear. He's going to be feeling the ramifications of that for the most part of this game. Looking at that top lane as well, Cube is pushing in 369, so there's an opportunity to prevent Kanavi from getting any form of cross-map going on, especially since Karis also is pushing in that mid-wave, trying to collapse on the Vice, definitely possible.
Oh, that was a nice heads-up move there by Kanavi to stay outside of vision of Cube. So Cube says, hey, your blue buff is still up, but no sign of Kanavi. Good ward to put down, so Tianjun will be spotted out on that, and Navi will be alerted if he heads to the top side.
Okay, so, I mean, the red's going to loop around and just picks it up. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So, the blue buff gets picked up anyway, and at this stage in the game, as Tianjin, you have to be thinking, well, what actually can the Vi be doing? We cleared her top bot side, so she looked onto the top side, but other than that, she's actually got nowhere to be. Odds are she's probably gone into the top side of our blue jungle anyway, to figure out what form of camps they can take. But the point being, she's delayed in doing that. You can already see Tianjun picking up this crowd, whereas the Vi just now beginning to move over. And there's going to be a little bit of a window where we will see Tianjun with a timer on the map.
Well, Paris isn't actually able to stick around for Tianjun coming in and dealing some damage to Cream, but he is forced to burn that Ghost.
Okay, and just pulled as well, so, I mean, depends how Karis wants to play this in the big wave. Nothing really to speak of, but... Okay, a little bit of an advantage then picked up. Ghost taken down and teleport advantage now mitigated for Karis as he uses it to get back into the mid lane. The question becomes, what does Cream end up missing for this recall? Without that teleport, you have to wait and see. And I also love this purchase to pick up to begin with for Cream. Would have been even better if he'd have got them before the Ghost was used, but such is the way the game has gone. But the Lucidity Boots reducing your cooldowns on your summoner spells as well, something that's going to be incredibly valuable for a Vladimir. Yeah,
especially when they're combat impactful. So everybody loves ghosting around at Mach 5. Let's pretend that, you know, that's not false. As they're going for flashes here. Crisp will get stunned up. He's ignited too. Taeyun is just trying to land those Qs. Vampire knocked away. A couple more auto attacks. Jackie Love cleansed the slow. Nice heads up play there. Tianjin looking to slide his way in. The question is, can they stop them from backing? He's trying to get close. The back is not going to get completed. Jackie Love is stranded under this turret. It's bad news.
Yep, lamb for the slaughter, I'm afraid, and I don't know how far that bot wave is off of coming in, but trying to get Jackie Love out of this situation is not going to be possible.
They got to make a play soon.
Extra kills, though.
All right, it's going to be first blood going over to Tianjun. Now the question is, can Kanavi do anything about it? Cream's route wasn't fantastic. It looks like the play will just go to WE.
Yeah, really good play from the bot lane, honestly. Vampire and Taeyun deciding that they can fight this 2 versus 2, despite the fact that they sacrificed the experience early on as well. They were able to find that play largely independently. Yes, Tianjin is the one who benefits the 400 gold, but really well played overall. This bot side of the Rift, not something I was expecting to be talking about going so well.
Yeah, especially for the side of WE, right? And I mean, you know, Vampire for... you know, everything people have said last year. I mean, listen, he looked really good on that play. I mean, he did everything he needed to do. They were both so in sync. It's great to see.
Okay, both cooldowns used there by Karis, not on Cream, and Cream quite rightly so. Just, yeah, going for at least an ulti.
Yeah, you know, Hemo play heals you up a little bit. If you can't get any extra damage on, you know, that's about all that happens. Is TES heads over to this dragon. The question is, can Taeyun and Vampire actually advance on it? Doesn't look like they'll be able to. It's just a trade of objectives here.
So, Void Grubs gives 1 mark on that feat of strength for WE, the Drake going to give 1 mark for top esports as well. So a little trade here to begin with. Obviously WE find themselves first blood, so a little bit more pressure on the top esports side to find first turret. We'll see whether or not they're able to get it, especially without those Void Grubs as well. It's good to see WE mitigating those feats and the power that they may well give later on.
Yeah, especially to somebody like Vladimir is a good example. I mean, getting those feats, the buff for Lucidity Boots would be really strong for Vladimir, right? Now, I'll say this. I haven't had games last long enough to be able to actually get them, but I believe the Lucidity Boots one would be a really big boot.
I mean, yeah, if you're able to pick those up, there's lots of questions about how
Jackie
relevant
Love.
they are.
Oh no, he goes up a little bit too far. Takes a lot of damage.
He's in the
but
wings.
is, yeah, being protected here by Chris, but Jackie Love is just being whittled down more and more.
Navi is off on the side here, looking to maybe go for a dive.
He's level 6 now.
He is indeed level 6. Taeyun, with that E, should be able to Arcane Shift so that the Vi doesn't land on top of you when the channel finishes, and there's not enough support, nobody nearby, even Cream moving down as well.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. Question is, what's going to happen? Ezreal going to be targeted out here. He's going to barrier up, but it's just far too much damage. They managed to get a kill out of it, though, but the bullet time will finish him off. Now it's Karis. What can he do? He'll at least make it a 2-for-2 trade, and so close to getting Cream.
Yeah, and I mean, that's honestly still worthwhile for top esports. It's very close, but the fact that Taeyun and Vampire end up losing out, and more specifically that Taeyun loses out there, that's really detrimental for them. What we did get to see on the other side of the rift, though, is that Jianjian made his way into that top side of the jungle and lit it up like a Christmas tree, so hopefully that can yield some fruit a little bit later on. Replay on how all of this went down. To begin with, Kanavi tanks a turret shot we probably shouldn't have, but this Unbreakable just keeping 3 members back for the most part. The presence of Vampire there, honestly, not particularly awful. And then Jackie Love obviously going to fall here. Cream able to flash out of the damage from Karis'. E is the incredibly important part there because he would have fallen had that connected. So 2 for 2 on the bot side. Kills for the Aurora, kills for the Misfortune, and overall a relatively even trade that I do think just slightly favours our current favourites top.
That's the bit of a problem with Vladimir's ultimate. Takes a little bit for that damage to actually, land onto these members. And, keep in mind, one of the season changes that has kind of gone a little under the radar and people don't really think about too much. Turrets dealing more damage for situations just like that.
They hurt, right? Like, you have to be perfect with the juggling. And now you've got to recalculate how much you think turrets are going to do, because they do just hurt a lot. And I think that was sort of a attempt from our Riot friends to make sure that snowballing wasn't as prolific, making sure that those dives aren't as easy to accomplish. But even still, you can see top there getting away with a couple of kills, not the worst thing in the world. But for a game currently that is dead even, talk about the way that these two teams are going to scale. Obviously, the Vlad is going to be a menace late game, but Aurora as well, a champion that deals phenomenal amounts of damage as we move later into the game. And I also think that Ezreal scales with how easy it is for him to get killed, essentially. Now, in this instance, there's a Vi on the other side of the map. There's a Alistair, there's a Vladimir who are going to be heat-seeking the Ezreal almost. But I do like the value that Ezreal is going to provide as we move later into this game versus the Misfortune.
And he scales with skill, too. And Taeyun was looking pretty good on this Ezreal so far. These grubs are going to be up in 10 seconds. As you see, Jackie Love has sprinted toward the mid lane. Taeyun is on the bottom side right now, and he's going to be met by the Snar. So it'll still be a 4v4 if there's going to be any sort of contest here. But it looks like Kanavi is ready to get in and start these up.
Yeah, the important part as well is that 369 actually has TP, so he needs to join the fight. He can.
Vampire moving in. As one will be smited away, but the rest of them look like they'll be claimed by Team WE. See if Kanavi really wants to get cheeky and go back in. He's sitting on this blast plant. We'll just take it to move to the side and get it.
Yeah, and at this stage then, it's inconsequential who picks up the final one. Nobody's going to get the feat of strength, but WE will take it for that little bit of extra damage to the turrets that the 5th group is going to provide. But already with that sacrifice from top, they're the ones that get to move down to the bot side a little bit quicker. And they're the ones that get to set up for this dragon that they've already got one of, that they can maybe look to try and find a second.
You can see that Kanavi is down here. It's going to be met by Karis in just a moment here. already just trying to chunk out the jungler here, get him a little low. His 369 is now in mini form, but the ultimate used by the Vi, and Karis is going to just go between worlds to slide on out of there.
Yep, nicely executed from Karis there. One of those Aurora mechanics that we've started to see become a lot more dominant is just, oh, I'm caught, let me press R and escape. But played out well. Going into a Drake fight with no Aurora ulti, but no Vi ulti as well. So we'll have to see which team is going to end up being the beneficiaries in that trade. I do think that that means that the Ezreal in this case is going to get to play a lot safer. So it might be something to keep our eye on.
Well, backs have just come out from Team WE here, as Tianjun has gotten his Sundered Sky, as has Kanavi. So the TES being first to the map here in 369, a lot of plates. See if he wants to go back and spend his gold too. As he has that teleport up, means that he will be able to show up for the Dragon fight.
Yeah, and that's something that, so far we've not particularly seen a lot of, are those fights down on the bot side, a little bit of skirmishing on the top side to jostle for those Krugs and for the Void Grubs more so, excuse me, as Kanavi Blast Cones over, immediately retreats, quite rightly so. But
Jump scare
in the mid lane as well, JackeyLove has that Bloodthirster finished, whereas no Trinity Force for Taeyun. It's a slight discrepancy between our two AD carries. Mid lane as well, not quite found the first item to come through, so our power so far really is going to be in the jungler's hands, and Kanavi, I think, at this stage in the game, might well be the strongest player on the Rift.
Good news for WE, despite Taeyun not having that Trinity Force. They were able to slide in and take this dragon, so they've knotted themselves up at 1 dragon apiece. So, TES not able to really get that dragon stacking going, and it looked like they kind of wanted it, but
so that's
ultimately decided it wasn't worth it.
A second, then, feat of strength, or a second mark, a notch on the objective for WE. Just need one more dragon or the Rift Herald to go into their back pocket before they can finish off feats, but Top Esports so far not having the same power, the same presence in the early game that they had in game number 1, and that in itself is a big win for WE. They should be very happy with the way that they've conducted themselves these first 14 minutes. I think that by and large, with the gold being pretty much even across the board, I'm very happy with how they've dealt themselves and how that conduct has gone. It's definitely an improvement from game number 1.
They're doing a pretty good job. You just worry that they are not going to be able to turn it on and try and take advantage of TES before this Vladimir starts going crazy. As an example, look at this bottom lane play they're going to make onto Karis here. Navi is waiting for Crisp to come through, and they will combo out Karis. It's going to be a kill going to the Vladimir.
And they just lost track of where Top Esports could be there, unfortunately. There were pings going into the top side jungle of Top Esports, sort of question marking where are they? They're out buff? What's happening? And unfortunately they were ganking their bot laner and just stepping out. I mean, not even stepping out, but being too far forward when the rest of your team wasn't quite there. Cost Karis his life in this instance. Worth mentioning, Hemo Plague going down. The fighting on this top side now as Q charges away.
Yeah, that's it's going to be pretty rough for WE because, as we were just saying, they need to start making plays before Cream gets a little too far ahead, and given the fact he's already 2-0-1, it's not looking so good. We haven't really seen Tianjun, get in there and use a big Cyclone and do anything to throw off TES, and I think that's just a large fear of how good TES is in close quarters combat.
So this is also going to be a very important game for Crisp, in my opinion, as well. We talked about the power that Miss Fortune has when she's not playing versus tanks, but equally how difficult it can be for her when she's not playing versus tanks, because they all just try and kill her. Crisp, this case, has got really one job, as to peel JackeyLove, right? There's nobody else on the team that he needs to be peeling for, because the top 3, they're all going to be diving forward. And if you can keep Renekton and Wukong away from JackeyLove, that's a secondary carry that can absolutely rip through this Renekton, this Wukong, and make them pay.
You're absolutely right. That's a great point. As everybody loves when you're playing Miss Fortune, you get an opportunity to set your feet and really dig in with your ultimate. See if JackeyLove will get any of those opportunities. Rift Herald has spawned, and immediately Tianjun sprints up there to start it up. Crisp warding it out. Ping's coming down. Kanavi also making a beeline, even using his Q to try to get there a little bit faster. Cream also on a rotation to the mid lane here.
Worth mentioning that giving these things up, not the worst thing in the world, but looks like WE, they're going to be fought for.
Oh, JackeyLove is stuck in the back of the pit right now. He's going to have to flash over the wall. The Cyclone knockup is there. A nice dodge out. And that just means Crisp is stuck. Here comes the bullet time, but he gets blocked by Braum, and now Cream is in the middle of the fight trying to do something, anything. Kanavi cannot secure, and now he's got to flash away. WE just able to take that fight pretty easily. Jackie Love, what happened?
Yeah, just gets sort of roped in there almost to try and find a fight onto Tianjin, and unfortunately gets caught in the pit as a consequence. Has to finish flash to get out of there. Crisp used Unbreakable Will but didn't end up flashing. I think saving that for a future fight. Definitely something that they can look to abuse and look to use onto certain targets who may be unexpecting it. But that's feats of strength going over to WE. Looks like Top Esports, though, not going to be dissuaded by this. Able to take themselves that top turret down, and that's going to open up the rest of that top side, get an even longer lane that the Vladimir and the Gnar are going to really love to work in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Things went so well for WE there, and they're still down about 2,000 gold. I mean,
yeah.
You know, feats of strength, 70% win rate. My left foot, no. Like, this does not look like a 70% win rate game.
No, unfortunately, it may well end up being that it isn't. But what you can see is that with those Void Gobs, WE are looking to do something, right? Taking down a turret, trying to find themselves a little bit of gold to close off that gold gap. And that's certainly something that's, again, more positive and is something that we didn't really see from them in the last game. They've also still got the Herald in the back pocket of Tianjin, so their gold power play, let's say, isn't over from that Rift Herald. It's just going to take a little bit of a longer time to try and impact itself.
I wonder if there's a world where they'll be able to get it down mid lane and then maybe ride it to the top lane too, because those turrets are so low. But that's a story for another fight, as Mega Gnar is flying through. However, he is going to be mini by the time he gets here. Now, TES has to fall back because of the charge on to the mid lane. Jackie Love get a bullet time to clear out the wave, clear out the Herald, but this turret is on its last leg. Somebody's got to hit it, and they're going all the way in. Cream trying to do his thing and pump out damage. Karis dies on the backside, but there's plenty of knockups. 369 trying to get in the middle of things. Kanavi to the back line. Cube is tanking damage, but he's got to flash away, and TES comes away with the fight victory and the objective.
Yeah, they lose tier 1, but they do get the Drake, they do get the fight, and now they're going to look to find a tier 1 of their own. Ezreal wave play not really too high, and Cube does not fancy jumping in to take this wave down. Tier 1 for tier 1, fight in favor of Top Esports and the Dragon as well. Slowly, slowly, Annie, those objectives, they're going more and more in their favor.
It's starting to spill over to them a little bit more, and you know, I think one of the biggest things to talk about is Cream. He didn't really do a whole lot of damage because he's not at that point of the game yet, but Vladimir is so damn scary. Watch him get to the back line in just a couple of moments, and then WE is like, oh god, we're scared.
Yeah, it's a two-pronged approach as Crisp tries to take down Karis and honestly boots him right back in there, but Between Worlds is, well, it's nothing, unfortunately. It was inconsequential, it turned out to be in that fight, but the way that the Vlad went in absorbed so much from WE. It's good to see that they're able to take down the Vladimir. So, I mean, if you're going to use all of your spells on one of the champions, I think that Cream is probably the one to be doing it on. But then you got to see 369, Jackie Love, still alive, still kicking, and this Gnar with the Trinity Force into the Black Cleaver. Actually, a very present threat in this game as well. 369 has been, again, a little bit under the radar for the most part. Same for Cube, as they've kind of been handshaking laning phases for the time being, but looks like 369 is just doing a lot more.
Yeah, the impact's all his to have, especially with Mega Gnar. I mean, we haven't even seen a big Gnar ultimate get used yet. And speaking of big ultimates, I mean, just harkening back to that fight, Tianjin, you know, when you're cycloning one person, if you're not convincingly far ahead in the game, that's probably not great, as WE are the ones to start up this Otacon. As 369 is in the area, just trying to drive them off a little bit. Otacon does so much damage, this voracious Otacon, as Jackie Love is going to keep it tethered, but decided to head out. He really wanted a piece of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is such a big snowball for whoever gets it, really, to be honest. It is just going to start to push the game much, much further. As I'm not quite sure why it's not started regenning HP yet, but I assume at some point it will do. So
they should just rip it. No, I mean, obviously they have no idea, but like, this thing is okay. There we go. I mean, it felt like you were almost at a point where you could have just started it up again.
They probably could have done, but they didn't know. They've decided against it, Yanni, which, you know what, fair play.
That's, they don't have God vision like we do.
No, that's very true. Noobs. Imagine.
Yeah. Couldn't be me.
Looking
I
at
got a
the break
100%
points.
win rate this season, all right?
Yeah, me too, man. I just play with Fog of War off. Have you guys not got that installed?
Duh.
No?
Yeah.
Oh,
No?
okay.
Anybody?
Silly behaviour from the LPL teams, unfortunately. But looking out at these items, though, the breakpoint's currently very favourable for top esports, even though that gold lead only 2,000. You can see 2 items on every single member that needs them.
Obvious.
Yeah, he's short queued there.
Yeah, he's a little too far up, but he manages to get out. I mean, that teleport change, it feels like it is messing up so many players' timing, right? Because I'm sure Karras expected to get there a lot sooner and be able to do something to Kanavi. Now Kanavi is behind enemy lines as this Otacon has been started up. 369 is not there yet, trying to get that Narbar up, but he's got his teleport available. Ezreal goes wide. Otacon down to about 7,000 HP, and here comes the Gnar teleport, and it's a deep flank from the bottom lane. WE has spotted it out, but the question is, can you turn on him? Here's Mega Gnar trying to go in. Taeyun's the one who's caught. They're trying to protect him. Kanavi goes low and goes down, but Cream is ready to do as much damage as he can, but he gets stuffed on the back line, and they walk out of the bullet time. Team WE, a triple kill for Karras.
Yeah, and the Aurora finds 3 in this fight, and that's going to give them this Otacon buff. Unless Jackie Love and Crisp can do anything, but no bullet time. Definitely not going to be easy. They're still looking to fish around, looking to contest these double ups off of the neutral itself. Are going to slowly whittle away at WE. They've got no way of getting on top of them.
It's chunking, and we know that Otacon does quite a bit of damage. As long as TES can just stop this, I'm sure they'll be happy. Cube's trying to regen, trying to flank onto Jackie Love, as you said, but Jackie Love spotting that out wisely. This thing is down to about 4,000 HP, and it resets. Jackie Love manages to get away with the cleanse, and now the slice, but no dice, as he can't catch Jackie Love nor Crisp. But Otacon still alive, down to about 6,000 HP and getting lower. Ezreal comes flying in to chunk out Crisp and Jackie Love, but Crisp once again trying to keep his AD carry alive.
Can steal it.
It's low. Can he take it away? Not quite. It's secured by Cube. And how will the rest of the fight go? Because they have GAs. It goes poorly for Jackie Love as he falls, and just a frustration. You can see it.
Such a tense fight around the Otacon there, and almost top esports able to come away with an advantage, but it's WE in this game number 2. Absolutely throwing down Karras. A complete revelation from game number 1 here on the Aurora. Finds an exceptional fight around the neutral objective. Now gets to move back out onto the map with Rabadons and those tier 3 Sork shoes. So he's going to be doing so much damage if he's given the space to do so. And let's take a look at how this fight all started. Taeyun forced to eat away on one side, and the space created by the Cyclone, and everybody just in the midst of the Aurora ulti certainly keeps WE very much in this fight and even makes them win it. Worth mentioning there that the observers quite rightly highlighting that the cease and desist used onto a clone of a Wukong as opposed to the Wukong themselves, but as we got to see here, the objective just barely secured. I think it's Cube that ends up finding an auto on it that just barely takes it out. And then Jackie Love flashed on by Karras again, recognized his misfortune. Just used the flash in my face, and I can flash in and take her down. Very good heads-up play.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Kanavi was charging up a Q as well, and then flashed, but it ran out. So I believe that's what happened. A really uncharacteristically poor fight out of Kanavi, and that is backbreaking for TES. As they are now the ones on the back foot with the false life buff onto WE, as they're looking to start a fight to take those things off, and already a big double knock up with Karras and Jackie Love in the 1v1, and that's not a fight that Jackie Love is going to win, as he, no, maybe it is! Oh, it is, but the false life buff is too strong. Triple knock up from Crisp, but you can't knock off the fake GAs as WE takes advantage anyway.
And now they're going to walk towards the Baron, Yanni. Didn't think that W would be anywhere near this position in this game, but they have found themselves with all of the tools to be able to do so. Karras 1v1's Jackie Love on the back of the fight, and Jackie, takes down the Aurora by all means, but only able to get 100 gold for it, and the Aurora is able to go back and defend. Kanavi still alive, still kicking, full HP with
the
smite.
Gnar teleport top side, but there is a teleport coming in from Karras over to the right of Cream. See how this shakes out as Cream will get spotted by him and immediately chunked out. Here comes 369, trying to make it happen. Knocks 2 to the side. Kanavi gets the kill, but Cube is just trying to run interference because the Baron goes down, and Kanavi is running out of HP. Cream trying to do what he can with his ultimate, trying to chunk out Cube, and he will fall. Look at Tianzen, he's so low, but 369 went mini at the worst time. Cream is able to at least trade out kills, but now where is 369? Can they find him? And they do. Taeyun will claim nearly 400 gold on him. TES get off a couple of Barons, but there are still 2 members with it.
So it's a 3-for-3 in the fight. The Baron goes the way of WE, and it's Karis and Taeyun, the 2 members that walk away wearing purple. Overall, this is still favourable for WE, largely because they get so much of an injection of gold from taking down the Baron first of all. But this is a sloppy fight on multiple fronts. It's going to be difficult to try and figure out where all the pieces went down. I think your first port of call is recognising 369 and Kanavi. They take down Vampire as opposed to working their way towards the Baron and looking for a flip in that case in really any form of fight style, as Cream on this side as well is zoning away for a little bit considerably, but still doesn't quite have that one-shot damage that we're used to seeing from Vladimir's in the late stages of the game. A little bit more time needed for Cream, and 369 again does some great work dealing damage to the front line, but not the carries. And in that fight, it's worth saying Taeyun, Karis, and honestly in this game, these 2 LCK Challengers promotes have been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, they have been aces this game for WE, and critically in that fight, Cream's Tides of Blood did not hit Cube, which allowed him to get 369 low enough that he was picked up on the backside. And I mean, Cream, after the hot start he had, he's been stuffed the rest of this game. You know, shame on me for saying, hey, if you're solo ulting him, you know, it's probably not going well. I mean, WE is immediately recognizing him as the threat. They're tagging him with the Braum passive. You know, obviously not in that fight, but in prior fights. I mean, this has been really good stuff out of WE in these team fights.
Yeah, now they've got to extend that further, right? This 3k gold lead that they've got the Baron at their backs with still. They've got to try and do a little bit more. They're going to have to break this game open, right? We talked about the fact that Vladimir is going to become a threat a little bit later on. But the way that the Aurora and the Ezreal have been functioning this game, just getting gold into their back pockets is going to be very valuable as well. And the fact that they've got this advantage, definitely going to be something that they can look to work through. I think for top esports for the time being, trying to avoid these team fights might actually be something to try and work on. You've got a Gnar. I think 369 in the side lane is going to be so unstoppable with this build. He's built very exclusively, it feels like, for a good 1v1 versus Karis, but so far hasn't yet been able to find it. And this Gnar build going into big 5 versus 5s is really, really quite squishy.
WE recognizing well that they need to get in there and prevent TES from getting this soul because, hey, well, it's just a Cloud Soul. Cloud Soul pretty good for TES. Everybody except Jackie Love really will certainly enjoy themselves a Cloud Soul. So we'll see what the move is here as they're jockeying for position, trying to force WE down. Kanavi is on a deep flank here.
But they're looking for him.
To do a whole lot. Yeah, exactly. They know that something's not quite right. Where is Kanavi?
Yeah,
he's in your walls, under your bed. Question
and now
is,
they're saying,
will the boogeyman show up?
Well, let's just go straight towards the main objective. Let's try and take this fight outright. We can't find Kanavi. Well, let's just leave him wherever he is and try and find a fight elsewhere. They started running, and top esports right now, they're just tethering the entirety of WE and making sure that they can't find any form of fight. It's such a give and take that they're playing currently beautifully, but as soon as WE start this Drake, that puts the pressure back onto top esports. Okay, well, we've been hiding in fog of war. We've now got to reveal ourselves.
369 is going to show up. The Dragon about 6,000 HP. Ready to go in here is Kanavi. Here's the target. The bullet time is landing and doing a lot of damage, getting people low. Cube targeted on one side. Tianjin is able to kill Kanavi. The health bars are low. The question is, can they finish off the kills? Tianjin falls. 369 jumping forward, knocking Cube against the wall, and WE is sent scattered into their own jungle. They're not quite done with this yet. Taeyun dropping an ultimate, trying to get some kills, but he can't. The health bars are so low. Karis wants to get in there because he knows he can blow somebody up. Does not look like he'll be able to. He's really getting antsy. He wants this, but it's too far away. Soul secured for TES and a bit of a wacky fight, but man, that bullet time did a lot.
Any fight that is not a wash for WE becomes losing in the extended trade. Cream has sustain in his kit, Jackie Love has a Bloodthirster, and if you don't kill those two targets, they will sustain back up. Kanavi here, again, these Vi engages have not been working out. Flashes, doesn't find any connection, instantly knocked up, and again, ulting the Wukong gets taken out very, very quickly, but the saving grace was Jackie Love and Cream in this fight. pumping out about as much damage as you'd like to think they could do. The entirety of that time with the bullet time coming across, despite the fact that Kanavi really flubbed on the engage there. The rest of the team stepped up when needed to, kept the rest of WE at bay. They were able to take the objective off the back of it as well, so that's now Cloud Soul ready for top esports. I'm looking at one person in particular on the mid lane of top who's going to be feeling very, very good at having a Cloud Soul.
I don't know what's going on with Kanavi, man, but I think that if TES wants to win this game, he's got to step up. He's got to play better than what he's been doing. His early game was so good. His game one was great. No, Jackie Love's been caught out, and TES runs away. The teleport coming in for Cube. That is a critical error as WE can do what they want now.
And Vampire there, just with a random ward over the wall from a little bit of time ago, catches out the AD carry.
369 and Kanavi forced away, but Crisp and Cream trying to do what they can. The donut mid and support trying to do what they can as the Baron has been started up. Kanavi is so low though. He has to back. It looks like the call is to just let this go, but 369, a bit of a flank here. About 7,000 HP. Kanavi has finished the recall. TES is in full retreat.
Fancied it a little bit, but decided against it in the end. And now WE walk away with a second Baron of the game in their favour. A lot of gold goes into their back pockets. They've got some good economy turrets that they can take down bot and top as well. About 700 gold locked away in those if they're able to pick those up. And yeah, Kanavi there with the GA. He might be feeling a little bit better going into those fights later on. But Jackie Love, a player who this game especially has been so quick at using those summoner spells. The second he gets tagged by that Braum Q, should be looking to cleanse, looking to flash, but gets caught out by knockup after knockup and ends up going down without being able to use either.
And that is a really good pick. Vampire doing a great job. He has had a really good game. He has been very, we haven't talked about him a whole lot, and obviously there was that one fight where Jackie Love got off a really nice bullet time that he couldn't block all of it. But other than that, I mean, Vampire's been playing excellently.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there's the Cubby adage that we had from yesterday's broadcast, which is Braum no hands champ. But I do think that Vampire, just in terms of support play, being in the right place and knowing his job, there's that element of support as well, where just standing in the right position, doesn't matter what champion you're playing. He's been doing that as well. You know, looking for a pick there, you could do that on any form of champion. Really solid stuff from the WE support this game around. Now looking to use this Baron. Let's see if they can break open a couple of turrets. Kanavi up on that top side. He's stealing away some camps, but needs to come back to defend his base.
What is he doing up there, man? I don't understand. As WE, the siege is on. I mean, sure, you're unlikely to engage, but you still need to be there just in case. As Taeyun is just chunking people out.
Yeah, this turret almost goes down. Got one more cannon minion coming in. As soon as that gets baroned up, you'd like to think that the turret's going to fall. And Vampire, by hook or by crook, leads the charge, takes the turret himself.
I'll do it myself.
Stand behind me, he says. And the rest of the team march forward, take down the inhibitor as well. And WE have taken an inhibitor from our Demacia Cup finalists.
Yeah, listen, Team WE, they are playing their hearts out in this game. 35 minutes, a couple of Barons for themselves. Right now, things are looking pretty good. 369. He's done a great job of making sure there's not many waves for WE to play on.
No, that's very true. And I think that for the most part, that's what's keeping WE from just rolling them through with this Baron. They've managed to take down that bot inhibitor, and that's going to be very important. That's obviously something they're going to look to work back on when this Baron spawns once again. But also, I think that's Elder's icon that is in the top right there. 1 minute and 10 seconds. Oh my goodness. Before that spawns in. Again, this Elder icon.
Of the season, right?
Second Elder?
Yeah, second Elder of the season.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I think.
I haven't been keeping up with the numbers, I'm going to be honest.
Listen, I'm not completely caught up on everything, but I recall the other day that's something that I heard, that we had one, I'm saying this is number 2. If I'm wrong, well I'm wrong.
Cool.
That's fine. I've been wrong.
No, we'll say it with chest. 369.
Hell yeah.
Is he caught? Are there people there?
Fine?
Are the observers lying? No. Okay. Well, yes, but no.
30 seconds until this Elder spawns. If they could make a play onto 369, that would be absolutely fantastic. At least try to prevent him from getting that Narbar back up once he goes mini. You can see he's getting flanked on here by Karis, getting chunked. He's trying to leap out that big slow, but Karis will not be able to chase any further.
Can I introduce you to Cloud Soul? 369 walks away and is absolutely fine. Now, In Between Worlds is down. Elder spawns in 5 seconds. That is a massive ulti used that actually WE aren't going to have access to. So all of that big AoE damage that they would have expected from their Aurora now on a bit of a cooldown. Granted, he's level 18, has got a decent amount of cooldown already, so it won't be too long, but definitely worth mentioning that without that, there's a window for top esports to look for something.
Yeah, and they have to. Karis has been doing the most in this game, and he's already chunking out Kanavi to half HP. There's just nothing they can do. They're not grouped up. Jackie Love's in the mid lane, just allowing time for Between Worlds to come back up.
But what's happening on this top side, right? We talked about the split push pressure that 369 can put down. In that mini Gnar, he's kiting out Cube quite easily. And as he's got this Mega Gnar now, might look to go for a bit more of an all-in.
Oh, see the picture-in-picture, just a little bit back and forth between the top laners. Between Worlds is back up for Karis, so all's well that ends well, as WE certainly in a position of power here. It's a matter of who will blink first. We see Kanavi heading up to the top side here. While everybody's still localized around the mid lane for WE.
And this is one of the things that I think top esports have done very well. 369 pushed out that top wave. You talked about it way long ago before they had committed to a siege with the Baron, before WE had committed to a siege with that Baron. So it incentivized them to go bot lane, where they would be easily able to deal with a bot wave that is pushing into them. You can see 369 is able to handle that bot wave. Cream was as well.
Tianjin going in with a double knockup. Jackie Love trying to get some space and stay alive. They turn onto Cream. He's alone. He has to pull away. Here comes 369. Does have that Mega Gnar available. Now the question is, will he be able to get in and get a good one off? He's trying to get in. They're grouped up, but not against a wall. Very smart move by WE.
Top use Ghost from Cream, but other than that, and Kanavi's flash.
They're ripping Elder here. And maybe just trying to bait things out. Here comes 369. Big knock to the side. There's the bullet time. It does a lot, but only to one target. Tianjin, though, is very low. The Dragon has reset. That's okay. They've got damage to spare. WE needs to find a way back in. 7,000 HP. Tianjin is ready to go in. The chunks and the damage are happening. Crisp gets to the back line. What's going to happen here? There's the Between Worlds doing a lot of damage. And the Dragon is secured by Jackie Love. And the executes are going to start coming through. See you later, Vampire. Blasted away by the Dragon's breath as TES has broken the game.
For 40 minutes, WE contested top esports, but at that break point around the Dragon, top come up clutch. Neither Kanavi nor Tianjin could take down the Elder. It came down to Jackie Love to take it out, and that gave them the opportunity, that gave them the fight, and that is going to give them the Baron as well.
Jackie Love making up for getting picked. That resulted in that Baron. He is the one that secures the Elder Dragon, and now TES is in the driver's seat. Can WE stop this? They have fought so hard to stay in this game, dude. 40 minutes in. Take a look at this replay. What are you seeing out here, man? What a fight.
Yeah, so Taeyun goes in over the pit and then realizes, mistake was made. But he's just used both of his mobility spells. Crisp goes over the wall, knocks up Taeyun, and yes, he gets melted to a cinder, but it opens up Cream to get into that backline, wreak havoc. And as soon as the secure on the Elder comes through, top esports know they're going to win that fight. It could have been completely different. There's absolutely a world where if Tianjin picks up that objective, it's top who are running for the hills. But that wasn't the case, and it's top esports that get to now use the duo of Baron and Elder to try and close this game out, and that should be the goal.
If Taeyun didn't have that miscue, perhaps we're talking about an entirely different fight. Use that Ezreal, but it's not dealing as much damage as it was before because TES has gotten their items and the siege is on to the Nexus turrets. 369 has been chunked, but he's just fine. Cream is pushing in the mid lane here. WE just trying to keep TES at arm's length.
I've got 30 seconds on the Elder buff still, so top esports with plenty of time to try and make things happen. They're teleporting in once again, seeing how many of these inhibitors they can take down, and I think that last-ditch effort, use Crisp, Unbreakable Will, let's go diving.
Cream's gonna walk up, and here's the bullet time, and Vampire's getting eviscerated. Cube's got a flash into the fountain as the first turret's gonna fall. 369 shield procs. Here's the Between Worlds trying to get as much damage in as he can, but Tianjin is blasted away. Down go the members of WE as the execute from the Elder Dragon rings true, and TES stay in it, and they managed to take a 2-0 series lead.
The score may read 2-0, Yanni, but that game was anything but convincing. WE had such a good chance. It came down to the wire, a flip at an Elder Drake of all things. And WE had broken open the base of top. They'd taken a bot inhibitor, had Nexus turrets under siege, but Top Esports, they stood firm, they held true, and they were able to weather the storm for long enough until finally Cream could come online. The misfortune damage that we knew was going to be present managed to ring through, and they found themselves the teamfight win they needed. And I loved that they're engaged. They came through at the very end there. Okay, we need to go in with this Elder. How are we going to do that? The one support in the game, it feels like, that could have engaged that so beautifully is just have Alistair with his ulti on, taking 60% reduced damage, and just start any form of a fight.
Yeah, it is so rough there for WE. I love a good underdog story, man, and I was like, oh man, they might be able to do it. They might be able to make this a 1-1 series, but ultimately we're not able to get the job done. Cracking under the pressure a little bit was Taeyun there. That's so heartbreaking, man. You, as an 80 carry purveyor yourself, it's like,
yeah.
I don't know what he saw, but he saw it, and he was like, let me go get it.
Yeah, that might haunt him, honestly, because those are the things that you do, and you think, okay,
why did I do that?
That's going to be an issue, and then it is immediately an issue, and then the consequences of that obviously very, very present. But the issue becomes sort of when the Elder goes against you. Does your E actually matter that you did that? Is that what cost you the game? Well, it wasn't helping you, so it's something that you could have done differently. But it was really just that the Elder went down, and it went in favour of top. Had it have gone the other way, like I say, I think that fight is completely different. But so far, Top Esports coming up in the clutch, that pressure factor that they've got, did what it needed to.
Without a doubt, dude. And I mean, you know, let's give it up for Jackie Love there, securing that Elder Dragon. Don't know how the hell he got it, man. That's the dream whenever you're not playing jungle. You're like, all right, my jungler misses the smite. I'm going to somehow pick it up. It feels like a little bit of a scrum every single time, you know, where it's like, all right, who's going to come up with this objective? And, you know, like I said, he may have taketh away earlier in the game, but he certainly giveth, and was a big reason why TES was able to get the dub. And big respect to WE, though.
Yeah, I think that they deserve that, and I think that, you know, we'll get to see a gold graph in a little bit of time. You know, we'll get the post game highlights. Woo! Or post game, you know, rundown of how that game went, and we'll get the roller coaster going. It's not that steady arc rising up a hill that we had in game number 1. It'll be a little bit more topsy turvy in this instance. And honestly, the fact that we got to see Vampire performing in this game as well really felt good. Even in that final fight, he's blocking the bullet time quite considerably, but the catch out onto Jackie Love in the mid game was what started WE going in that direction. They catch out Jackie Love, they take the Baron. With that Baron, they move into the bot side, break open the inhibitor, and there were some really good sequences of plays from WE that we can look to have in games with really close matchups, because these two teams weren't expected to have a close series, weren't expected really to have a close game, but that's what we've been treated to in game number 2.
Yeah, Vampire really said new year, new me, bro. Like, he really showed up in that game, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to pull out in game 3 and to see his impact on that game. Like, you know, I hate that I'm already, like, looking toward game 3, but I want to see more of Team WE after that one, because they showed that they can take a team like TES to the absolute limit, and you have to be so happy if you are the WE staff, despite the fact they did not win that game. Obviously, you're going to be much happier with a win, but you can look and you can be like, our guys can get it done.
Yeah, our record may say this, but this is what we actually know we can do. And I think that that's something that can be so powerful for a team as well, is the knowledge that you could have done stuff. And that really does go quite far. You can look at Taeyun's damage here in this game, the most for the entirety of the Rift. And yes, Cream and 369 were pumping their own damage out as well, but you really do get to see here with the gold difference as well. It was very topsy-turvy throughout pretty much the duration.
No, I will say, it felt like as the fights went on, Karis was able to do less and less. It felt like TES, like a lot of their carry members, specifically Cream, really shifted their focus to trying to take him out of fights. And even 369 was bearing down on him at that last fight after the Elder was done. It felt like he was able to get off his ultimate, but no other spells, because I'm really surprised that he finished with such low damage. I hate to say that 36k is low, but compared to what he was doing earlier, right, it's night and day.
No, I mean, it absolutely is. And it's a good thing then that, you know, we get to see things like Cream and 369 starting to step up and build up the rest of that we were looking towards. And I think that in this game as well, you'd mentioned that we were probably seeing a little bit of lacking from Kanavi, which going into game number 3 is something that we should absolutely be looking to try and pick our eyes out of and sort of see if Kanavi can return to game 1, because game 1 was a completely different beast, knew exactly where he was going, what he was doing, and importantly, how he was going to do it.
Yeah, well, that's true, dude, honestly. Nothing more to say than that. Now, my question to you, who do you think deserves the MVP? Are you a numbers MVP guy, or are you a plays MVP guy?
Oh,
I'm a
vibes MVP. I'm a vibes. It's Pogs, isn't it? Player of the game. I'm a vibes player.
Oh,
of the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Player.
It's like...
and you know, weirdly, it's Jackie Love.
That's what I was gonna say. He secured the Elder. Like, what more can you say?
Elder. That or 369. I will say I think 369 had a phenomenal game that will have gone largely under the radar, but I think that those are my 2 votes. If you're thinking of purely clutch factor, I can make arguments for both, because if it's purely clutch, Jackie Love got the Elder, which won them the game. It's plain and simple. In a game like that, it's whoever does the snap thing that wins you the match, and I think that that's your player of the game for me. If you're talking about consistency and who provided the most for the largest amount of the game, actually 369 wins it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, just because I think that these impactful plays are really so important. You know, there was a game a couple days ago.
And it comes down to your criteria here.
I can't remember what game it was. But there was, I think it was Hoya on Poppy, like made like really sick plays to prevent a Baron from being taken and to solo win a fight. And it's like, yeah, you know, he didn't have the greatest stat sheet. He's playing Poppy, but he made big plays, and he should have gotten the player of the game for that. That's why I'm like a Jackie Love MVP kind of guy for this one. I'm glad we're in agreement for player of the game.
Depends on your criteria, right, at the end of the day, and I think that everybody's going to have different criteria for their player of the games, for their MVPs, post-split, end of games, what have you, right? All of those things do come down to personal indicators, and it's good that we get to see a little bit of a glimpse of what we personally end up thinking are the important parts, really.
Yeah, and wow, what a game that we just witnessed, man. That's got to be so backbreaking for WE, though. I mean, you're so close, just not able to get it done. I mean, you know, obviously, like we mentioned earlier, the staff is probably like, yeah, you know what, this is fine, we made good decisions, but the players, and 369 gonna get the player of the game for this one. Listen, no problems with that, as we mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think firm respect, really, for the fact that 369 gets this. Happy with the choice that's been made, as he was just constantly controlling that side lane. I think that without that, the game looks entirely different, and that's just something else that you have to consider, is if 369 wasn't permanently pushing and constantly had Prior over Cube, this game does look completely different. So the fact that he's able to come in, and maybe his team fights weren't the most outstanding thing in the world, but they were good enough to pass the check, the power in the side lane, and then how incredibly powerful he was coming into the fights, was enough cause for concern for WE that they ended up having to dedicate resources or dedicate not enough to deal with him.
Yeah, the wave management by him was really, really clutch to stifle the rest of that Baron push. That's something that's really going to go under the radar, and I hope at least somebody, when voting for him for player of the game, considered that, and how huge that was, because, you know, 1 inhibitor down, you can deal with that. It's hard, but you can deal with it. 2 inhibitors down is very, very difficult. You're stuck in your base the entire time. So, you know, that's again, something that really went under the radar, but we're really happy that he managed to get the MVP. Sorry, Jackie Love, you still deserved it, but, you know, not too much you can do. Yeah, them's the break. Sometimes your teammate just does a little bit more than you. Well, that'll do it for the second game of the series, which means we are going to run to a break. And when we return, we could give you what might be the final draft of the evening, with TES looking for a clean 3-0, but Team WE after that second game feeling a little supercharged. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon. Welcome back, everybody, to English coverage of the LPL here on LPL English. TES with a 2-0 lead over Team WE. But that last game, Team WE showed more than just a little bit of fight. They almost won that game. It was looking so good, but
yeah,
Rudu, they weren't able to get over the finish line, man. It is tough.
No, and ultimately that can be the difference between your good teams and your great teams, right? Is that maybe a great team there is able to actually push top all the way over to the edge, and the fact that WE haven't quite had that experience, that time together, there are so many different factors that could have gone into it. Maybe a reason why they weren't quite able to find that game, but just the notion that they're able to push top esports to the very edge of a game should be something that they're positive with, right? Again,
if you're just joining us, expectations for this series were that Top Esports should be 3-0, 3 clean games in and out and done within the space of about an hour and a half's worth of game time. That's not been the case in game number 2. Absolutely drawn out affair where a massive fight around the Elder 40 minutes in is what seals the deal, but WE getting to that point in the first place is a win for them.
Yeah, didn't really think we were going to get to an Elder, but as it turns out, we did. You know, after a while, once Team WE really took the reins of that game, it was like, okay, well, maybe we will actually get there, but you certainly didn't have that one on your bingo card, or for some of you out there, maybe your bet slip. But TES now, again, still 2-0, still comfortably in the driver's seat. I imagine they're probably going to go to a composition that they're like, okay, we're very comfortable with what we're going to do here. We're just going to try to land the knockout punch on Team WE, especially with the way that they showed in that last fight, or that last game, I should say.
Yeah, and I think that for them, the bans probably don't change all that much, right? They went for the Skarner Ash and then the other red side ban Rumble. There we go, that you have to kind of get out the way. But I think that moving into what their plan for this game should be, should be probably keeping Kanavi on those fighting style champions, right? We've got 4 of them already taken out the picture, but there's still things like, you know, Jarvan's available, and we've already seen a propensity from WE to pick those immobile carries. Viego, something like that, also very, very powerful currently. So there's plenty of picks still there for Kanavi, and I think that for him this is going to be a really important bounce back game, because his game number 2, I hate to say it, was rough. You know, really just mechanical misplays more so than anything, that were very, very tangible in those fights.
I think the really scary thing is that Kanavi hasn't played some of his best junglers, right? At least since his most played jungler. But all of these other junglers that are meta, like Viego, like Jinzhao, and Maokai, he's got like very, very high win rates on over a larger sample size. So, you know, he's got a lot of options available to him. And I'm sure that after that last game, he's probably going to say, hey, listen, put the ball in my hands, please. You know, my hands were atrophying that game. You could tell as the game progressed. He was like, dude, just let me do something, please. At least that's what the hope is, right? Because, you know, I'm sure, as every high elo player I've ever met is, very prideful in how good they are at League of Legends, as you should be when you're this good. So, you know, maybe he'll do something, or, you know, maybe they'll just decide, no, you get to play tank duty after that one. You know, maybe you want to put him on Sejuani after the performance he had on Vi. It wasn't that
You've lost fighting champion privileges, and now you have to play Skarner. Well, you're not going to get to play Skarner, but you know what I mean? Like, you get tank duty. Zach it is, I'm afraid, buddy. And what Tarzan did to you in finals? Good luck. That's your job to replicate.
No, bro. Oh, that is a disgusting pull, my friend. Yeah, that'll just. I'm sure that still gives him nightmares. But yeah, WE. You know, I think they've shown through this series that so far that Karis and Taeyun may be the solid base that they're looking for. One more really solid performance, I think, will solidify that as we get into the picks and bans. And wow, I am so shocked. Rumble? Skarner? No way. Listen, Rumble has a 0% win rate right now in the LPL, bro.
Let's keep it that way. Let's keep banning the champion.
No, bro, just leave this champion open. Nobody can play it, apparently.
Oh, I think if they ban Galio to begin with, we'll be allowed. Okay, so they take away Cube's Udyr, which means Ashe, B1. Let's see it, Taeyun. This is all you, King.
Drum roll, please. Ooh.
Oh!
Okay, all right.
I like this more. I like this way more.
Oh, without a doubt, bro. No questions. Now, the only question is, I guess, is TES actually going to pick up the Ashe? They had an opportunity to in Game 1, and they elected not to. But I don't see why you wouldn't here.
Okay, so the idea then for WE is this Yone is going to be so much more powerful than the pick tools that Ashe provides that they're happy to give it up. And in a team fight as well, theoretically, Yone guns to do some damage to the Ashe. The Ashe is going to struggle to try and deal with the Yone in an ideal world. Now, obviously there can be a lot of pieces built around that, but we shall see. Yone taken early means that our Sejuani stocks increase for Tianjin, so maybe we get to see him pick up the Sejuani on this second rotation. Maybe we get to see Top try and take it away, but this is a preempt for it, right? This is a preempt for one of those tankier style junglers. The Zyra comes in for Kanavi, and that just means that you're going to so vastly outpace any form of tank jungler that you're going to get an advantage anyway.
Yeah, I still think you might have to stick to it, but we'll see what the options are. And I'd like to see, I'm very happy that we're starting to see like Zyra come back again, because I really liked it last year when Zyra was a part of the meta in the jungle. It was very cool, very unique, and then it kind of tapered off for a little bit, but we're going to see the Ziggs come through here for WE, so expect a roaming support to pay dividends later on. I think Vampire, again, we might see him come up clutch in this third game.
It's very possible, and I think that he's going to need to. Ultimately, right, we highlighted that the weaker part of top esports, at least in Demacia Cup, was Crisp, but so far this series has given me no real cause for concern on any of the plays that he's been making. Has been largely the right place, right time, no massive mechanical flubs that we need to particularly call out. But that says when he does get locked in, so the decentralizing factor of the Zyra not enough of a issue to make sure that WE don't take this sedge. Then expect to see another melee top laner locked in, some real power in the trifecta that WE can draft in their top side.
Well, there's your engage for the side of TES, and I like that they can do both here, right? With Kanavi's ultimate, if they engage on you, it's like, okay, cool, perfect, here's your Stranglethorns. But now with Rel, that is such a strong combination. That Magnet Storm, you can't escape it.
No, absolutely not. And when you've got a relatively low mobility champion like the Ziggs, so dependent on that satchel charge.
Poor guy.
He's going to struggle as well. If you get caught out by an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, there's enough CC to follow up on from Crisp and the rest of the team already that trying to take down a low mobility squishy carry should be possible. And I do fear for Taeyu in this game, because he's going to have to play like a Ziggs should be playing, which is 3 screens away, firing away.
We'll see what this final ban is going to be. I think one thing that is interesting is now I don't know what Vampire is going to play, because we talked about it earlier, how impactful he could be, because there are a lot of these roaming tanky champions that are ready to engage off the board. Nautilus is banned, Leona, Alistar, Braum, and Rakan all off the board. Rel's been picked, and here's a Smolder. Good God Almighty, why? I don't like this game, bro.
This is again, it feels like an ego thing from Cream,
this would be so sick. This would be so sick.
Taeyu and Vampire, yeah, okay. The duo legacy that is going to be formed out of these two picks. Okay, well, it could still be. A blind top laner here for Cube is what is needed, and the Aatrox is taken. There is a small world where we get to see these two flexed around. Aatrox mid has happened before. And what did we say at the top of the day, Yanni? If you can't beat them playing standard, beat them playing silly. Pyke incentivizes silly.
Absolutely, and guess what? There is 3 squishy targets on the other side. Pyke should be eating great in this game.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely should. And that's something that we should really be looking towards. So whether or not Vampire can navigate these fights, navigate any form of success, that's going to be the important thing. As now the Camille versus Aatrox matchup going into that top side. Like I say, maybe they swap these around and Karis plays an Aatrox, but it really depends on comfort more so than anything else.
Alright, why does this TES composition feel so disconnected for me? Like, you have this pick potential with Jackie Love and Kanavi, but I just don't see how this is going to come together. Like, I see that they have tools, but it feels like it's hung along by like very thin pieces of string.
Yeah, they do have good team fight with... Honestly, everybody except Camille. Camille can lock down one target who's got really good split push, so if you're looking for a 4-1, I think that top esports have got a lot of that going for themselves. I do also like the amount of pick that they've got, so if they see somebody caught out, Camille ulti, Ashe ulti, Zyra, everything, it's quite easy to pick somebody off. They've got great team fighting with the Smolder as the game gets later. I think that what they will struggle with to begin with is probably that early game. The Ashe and the Rel are going to be their crux to try and fall back on, but they've also got a Zyra that's going to clear way faster than a Sejuani. That fight for level 6, definitely something that the Zyra will be winning out on, and if you can get there, start to try and outpace the Sedge and get that jungle lead, that can feel really punishing when it's one of these mage junglers that is going to be a DPS threat, as opposed to it being a Vi who last game, like we saw, got quite far ahead of the curve actually, was sort of 20 CS up ahead in levels for the majority of the game, but didn't have that same impact. As Zyra is going to have that impact, and if you just think, okay, I'm going to pound for pound clear my camps faster than you are, and I might even be able to steal away a camp or two, that's what they're looking for. Any form of support this game is going to be geared towards that mid lane, because the Smolder, theoretically, a very weak area of the map.
So if they can use the fact that they've got a winning bot lane and ideally winning jungle, they should then be able to leverage that into Cream getting those stacks and being able to pay forward a lead and some kills later on.
Yep, we've got the late game, and honestly, one thing that we touched on for just a little bit, but not really talked about after the entire draft has been finished. How is Team WE supposed to play into Kanavi? You've got Aatrox, you've got Sejuani, you've got Yone, and heck, you've got Pyke too. I mean, these are not champions that are known for their range.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. And again, it can sometimes come down to maybe this composition doesn't necessarily synergize great as a 5-piece for top esports, but what it does is synergize very well versus what WE are actually looking to put out. And so far, what you can see from their draft is a lot of short-range champions plus one Ziggs. So unless Ziggs is poking out Kanavi for the most part of this game, possible, but not the expected outcome, then Kanavi is going to be doing pretty well, we'd like to think.
Just about one deep ward put down as Tianjin will start on his bottom side, Kanavi on his top side. So, Rudude, what are you looking for in this early game? You know, you mentioned that stealing away camps here, Kanavi managing to get one. You know, how is Crisp going to be able to enable him, especially with Taeyun just able to shove in waves and maybe make life hard on Jackie Love?
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue there, that Kanavi probably just hopes for a winning lane, and that could be down on this bot side. I think the power of an Ashe versus a Ziggs does come in its early laning phase, and more especially so in its all-in. You can see as soon as you get one auto attack, you can just chase down for continually a lot more, and as soon as Taeyun throws out that bouncing bomb, that's a 4-second window, 5-second window in the lane, where you can actually do quite a bit of work.
Crisp trying to get in there, but will be stunned up by Vampire, take a little bit of damage for himself, and waddle around as Rel's not on her horse.
So Taeyun in this instance is using his bouncing bombs to farm as opposed to using them to poke, and that's really indicative of a lane that's going quite poorly for WE down on this bot side. Ideally, as the Ziggs, you're using your bouncing bombs to poke and to push. Neither of those have really come to the forefront just yet, and Jackie Love and Crisp are actually doing very well down on this bot side. Already a small CS lead starting to amount itself, and not really had the presence from Vampire that you would look for. Worth mentioning as well, in this match, or in this lane I guess specifically, we're playing with this changed Ashe, let's say, where she gets a little bit weaker for like levels 1 through 9, let's say, with her W.
Hang on, 369, putting the pressure on Tianjin here, forcing him away from his top side. See Kanavi poking his head into the jungle, but is already going to make a dead sprint for that top side. And with Cream having the lane advantage as well, he's got an option to move over. We'll see if Tianjin wants to stick around. It looks like he is.
Well, you asked the question, how does Kanavi find an advantage? How does he steal
Oh, no.
camp? Maybe he does more.
Well, smite away the wolves. Does get rooted up. It's not going to take a whole lot of damage, but life is certainly hard for this Sejuani.
Yeah, so Vampire's first one to move into mid lane here. Now, Crisp is further behind, but that's no E on Cream as well.
Oh, this is nice. Let's see what he can do here. Crisp is on the way quickly, but the Ignite is down onto Cream. The question is, can Vampire take him out? He's not going to be able to get stuffed by Crisp. Good roam.
Okay, so again, I'm tentative to know how that could have played out differently. Vampire saves the undertow, or saves his E rather. For...
Oh, come on, Vampire!
Oh, does he see it? Does he feel it?
No.
So close. So he doesn't use his E there to gap close onto Cream at all. Knowing that Cream has flash, he's trying to probably bait out and see if he can get a kill without having to use it. Ultimately doesn't get either, and the flash for the Smolder still being up is the big win that top esports can take away from that. Your Smolder at level 6 without ult or without the flash could have been really susceptible, but he still has that tool for when Karis dings over.
Yeah, and that's such a high percentage play for Team WE there that they're just not able to come away with burning that summoner, which has to feel really bad. I mean, a lot of it was because Karis couldn't stack up that Q to be able to land the knockup, right? He had to just go in full retreat and hope that Vampire was able to close out. Just a slight damage difference there. Tianjin just walks up and smites it away and says, bro, camp for camp.
Yeah, he's taking that one back, and quite happily so. But you can see Kanavi has got all of his jungle other than those Raptors to go back and try and take, whereas Tianjin a little bit homeless for the time being, but finds one mid lane.
Another nice roam here, but this time Cream will be able to flash away. Crisp also has to flash, but will be able to keep his mid laner upright.
all of these fights that are happening around mid lane are more stacks for the Smolder. 34 already, just 5 minutes in, and sometimes it can feel really rough and you think, okay, we've got to try and bully the Smolder early on so that you can't stack up, but when that fails, you're actually giving over quite a lot of stacks innately just for fighting around him.
Vampire getting slowed up, might have some difficulties trying to get away as Crisp is in hot pursuit, can't quite land the stun, does have flash available but won't have to burn it. So now, something we get to mention, there's a lot of critical flashes down here. Crisp does not have it, Cream does not have it, WE, you had these nice plays to burn them, but now you have to take advantage somehow. And already, look, they're on to Crisp. Tianjin following up with a flash, and that'll be first blood going over to Vampire.
And he slices
I'm a
that
genius.
away as well. Incredible, taking down the no flash support. First blood over to the Pike. And there's a break point as well on this champion where you can just start 1v1ing squishy AD carries, squishy supports, and Zyra in this instance can be that Kanavi.
Oh, here we go. Oh, Kanavi forced the flash away. Will root a Vampire, and Vampire has to flash too. Oh. Good call out there, as Kanavi did a lot of damage. Vampire's still level 3 right now.
Yeah, and he's just trying to survive. Oh, Skewer goes barely wide. These scrubs have already been started up, but no level 6, no ulti for Kanavi. It's Tianjin. Now
Karis
goes
is the Fate's Heal. They're going to target Kanavi here. Kanavi down, getting low, and will fall. Karis gets that kill, flying in, goes 3-6-9. Tianjin goes down. Vampire goes down. Cube is world ending, but his world may end shortly. Karis is trying to distract. He ends up getting Crisp, and now he's stuck in a 2v1, and that world ender is gone. But he will be able to walk it out. So overall, a messy fight, but 2 grubs critically going to WE.
Yeah, so 2 for 2 in that exchange right there, and importantly, those pink wards in the banana bushes were so impactful that allowed the fight for Karis to begin. And I think the fact that they put them in just maybe a little bit too late, they put them down. The Yone gets spotted, and he's like, okay, it's time to go.
Oopsies.
He flies in, starts that fight off, and now Vampire gets to pick himself up quite a little bit of gold. But there's now a chance for WE to walk back up and try and secure themselves that feat as well. But yeah, they just actually see Karis the whole way through. So I'm just completely lying, and that's fine. But they see Karis walk in, take down the jungler, Kanavi can't do anything, and it's a nice even trade overall. 2 for 2.
Am I tripping, or did Tianjin charge into the wall to get over the wall and knock up Zyra? Knocked up Zyra and then stayed on the other end of the wall.
So that is what happened, and I'm
okay.
And it should have done. That's how it should play out.
Okay,
in that specific instance.
I've seen a lot of League of Legends, but like it's very rare you see something like that.
Yeah, so because of the way the hitboxes work and where you end up getting booped, or rather where I think Kanavi ended up getting booped, it ended up putting him on the same side of the wall that he tried it from. It's going to happen if you're playing on such fine margins like that, and it's a very rare occurrence, but it was okay.
Yeah, well, good stuff for WE in the end, but you could say the same for TES because, look, the solo laners are the ones who have been the beneficiaries of the kills. 1-0-1 across the board for top and mid. Right now, it's got to favor WE, but in a little bit of time, that could quickly favor TES.
Quite considerably as well, and we talked about the power that comes from this sort of dive, or we haven't really talked about the power rather that comes from this dive style of composition, but execution later on is going to be very important for WE, right? They are got to take down the Smolder, they're going to have to take down Jackie Love, and they can't do that. The Smolder is going to be an absolute fiend to try and deal with later on. The Ashe as well, definitely something that people should be scared about as you're moving into a later game situation, as Cube actually coming out largely on top on these trades, but little does he know that Kanavi is right here.
Yeah, and Kanavi is quick, and this could be a problem for Cube. Tianjin is there, will stun Kanavi, the knockup will find Cube, but Crisp is on the way to help out, lands the stun, can't knock up Cube, but 369 is a relentless. Now Kanavi on the backside, can't get away from Tianjin, but that is okay, because that means that is more kills for 369, he's 3-0.
Yeah, that's going to make this side lane even more difficult. Credit to Cube there because he dodges out on pretty much everything Kanavi can put down and buys enough time for his jungler to get here. Unfortunately, Vampire was too late to the play. Chris made the impact first. That actually gives them the win in the 3 versus 2. This is Vampire. This is maybe why he wasn't bot lane.
Oh my goat, Vampire making plays happen. Surely they kill him, right?
Oh.
No, they don't. Okay.
Not yet. I'm sensing there's more.
I really hope so. Yeah, there's
Okay.
definitely more here. Yep, there we go. All right, good job. Yep. All right, Vampire earned his keep there. Well done by Vampire and Karis there, too. Get a second kill on the Yone, which is critical after 369 got what he got, now has Trinity Force.
So I guess now the question for WE is, do they switch up their lane assignments? Because there's an argument to be made. Okay, Karis is actually really strong. Can we put that versus 369 and maybe alter how the side lanes are going to start playing out? Because 369 versus Cube, it's probably going to end up just being a very one-sided affair with the Camille, but maybe the Yone has a little bit of a better time of things just because there's a little bit more gold in their back pocket. So that's something for them to consider. Obviously 2 TP laners, so definitely something that can happen. For the time being, WE continuing their march on these objectives. They've taken down a dragon, 3 grubs, and with first blood in their favour as well, just 1 neutral objective off of those feats of strength.
They have 50 seconds until this next grub spawn, and I'm sure they're pressured to fight, especially for how strong 369 is, and will be as the game continues on. It feels like this is probably your moment where you're most even in strength, right? So they're going to try to make a play on the bottom side and then rotate it around. Here we go, 369 trying to hold it, but now he's in a 3v1. Yeah, I don't really see a good end to this. Maybe he's able to do something to Vampire, but they do a good job of keeping him away from their support, and a shutdown gold goes to Cube.
Yeah, it's just a very small thing from Vampire there, but recognizing that his job is to not die is very, very important. And he just starts walking away at the correct time. Tianjun now gets face checked.
Yeah, should be okay, but Jackie Love is level 9, by the way. Not something that we really got a second to mention. He is quite strong. So the grubs have spawned. Everybody is back out on the map. Teleport coming to the bottom side for 369.
I would shy away from the word strong. He's quite leveled.
Yeah,
but I
it's
wouldn't
strong.
use the word strong at this point. He's you know, Berserker boots, got that Hearthbound Axe, Retrix, but not that first item yet. And I think that currently Taeyun probably a little bit stronger as well.
Oh, lands the stun onto Kanavi. The Fate Sealed on top of it as well. Crisp is getting burnt to a crisp. There's the ultimate Stranglethorns coming through. Jackie Love will find a kill, and he finds 2 kills. Are you sure this man ain't strong?
Well, maybe when he goes unchecked, Yanni, he's got a little bit of power in his dice that he can throw around as well. Janjan now in a little bit of trouble as he did manage to steal away 1 of those Void Grubs, but Taeyun should be looking to try and cut off the escape for Jackie Love here.
Oh, knocks him right into those bombs. Tianjin trying to get close. Had that flash available, but he's going to hold it and head right back to the grubs, and it looks like he should be able to secure those. The pings are going down, though. It is very slow. 369 flying into the mid lane here.
No ulti.
Chunk out Taeyun. Trying to kill him, but couldn't. Hextech Ultimatum wasn't up yet.
Yeah, Satchel Charge was used just in time there. The Precision Protocol from Camille was about to come back up. You can see 369 delaying his auto so that he could auto Q and take down with the execute that would have happened from the true damage, but not quite enough time there. And like I say, Taeyun just barely able to get out to safety. Keeping himself nice and safe. That Zig's job really is to defend mid-tier 1 as we move into the mid-game, and that's exactly what he's looking to do.
Crisp and Kanavi hanging around the top side here. Karis has an idea that something is going on. He's going to have to try to get out. Magnastorm is in as well. The root is there. Not enough damage just yet. He'll be able to get out, but critically, they're going to start rushing down this turret. TES with 4 members strong. I don't know if they win the race, Rue, dude.
Oh, it's very close.
Plates
4
have
versus
just
2 Void
fallen
Grubs.
off. No, they're not going to get it. And that means WE will get the feats of strength. Congratulations, winner chicken dinner.
Alrighty, so WE there just a little bit faster to the play, and obviously as the plates fell off literally as they were going for that little race for the turret, and overall it's WE coming away with a second game rather, where they get feats of strength. Now, obviously game number 2 they pushed Top Esports pretty much to the limit. Game number 3 as well, they're looking to do largely the same. As you can see, it's Vampire that's starting this fight off. Double CC onto Kanavi, who gets pretty much eviscerated, and then as you'd already highlighted, Jackie Love, you know what, maybe he's got some strength in his arsenal, but maybe that comes from being a unchecked AD carry in a team fight as well.
Facts. You know what, Kanavi was just the distraction. Kanavi walked so Jackie Love could run, and he will certainly be happy about that one. But overall, the fight, while it went over to WE, I mean, they weren't able to secure all 6 of those grubs. I mean, I'm sure it's totally fine because they got the feats of strength, so we'll see if that is enough to tip the scales in their favor. 15 minutes into the game. Dragon coming up in about 45 seconds. I'm sure they're raring for another fight, my friend.
And I did make a point about trying to swap these lane assignments for WE. The flip side of that is that they get the Yone out of a lane versus a Smolder, which is obviously going to be very winning in 8 lanes.
Flash for flash. They're chasing after Crisp, and Crisp got caught.
Crisp is level 6.
Kanavi gets caught too. He's forced to flash away. Can he get out? The blast cone will not be able to get him out as Vampire brings him down to the briny deep.
Yeah, so if either of these supports get picked off, there's a 5-level difference in some instances between these solo laners and the supports. Crisp, as you got to see, got chewed through very, very quickly, and now WE managed to break open this mid-tier 1 turret also. The Sassel charge there, having that little bit of extra work being put into it. 25% execute on turrets at level 1. Now WE, second Drake on the board. Maybe they're going to look to try and take this one down with no jungler and the support coming back out from base. Should be up there for the taking.
They're playing quite decisively, RWE. They will secure that second dragon as TES will head to the top side to look for this Herald. And one thing that I want to mention that we talked about the pick potential. There's a bit of a fight going on here. The 369 will be able to get out. We haven't really seen Jackie Love use that Enchanted Crystal Arrow to start a fight, get a pick, or anything like that.
No, and I'm not sure if that the reason that happens is because your team isn't playing around you, and if that's a product of Kanavi not being in a position to use those Enchanted Crystal Arrows effectively, or Crisp trying to do things elsewhere on the map, but it also becomes very difficult to do that because these supporting pieces in Crisp and Kanavi are being pulled to other sides of the rift to try and make sure that people like Cream aren't getting collapsed on to help 369 in certain instances, and when they're doing that, that means that actually they can't be mid lane, which is where you would want to use that arrow with the most effectiveness. It's a lot easier to try and line it up down a lane as it is to try and get it in a perpendicular or diagonal style. But they're going in here. This is the Crisp fight that they're able to take down, and you can see, yeah, Aftershock, great, but actually it's the Glacial Prism from downtown that picks up the real carry that they were looking for, and Kanavi really stood no chance.
Yeah, that ain't Smithy. That one hit flush. And another nice pickup there, and it feels like WE are one more fight away from really breaking this game open. I mean, it is very close and a very tenuous position here. I mean, they need to do so soon because you know what Smolder is going to do. He's at 161 stacks right now. He's going to get to that break point, and he's going to be a big problem. So WE, the timer is still on.
And especially with the context as well of Game 2, where we saw WE have that advantage, have that lead.
Oh, no, that is Smithy. He missed. Crisp still might be caught out. The roots are coming through. There's the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Tianjin was able to hop away for a moment as the teleport's coming through on the backside. 369 wants a piece of this fight. Karras is going to have to Fate Seal over the wall, but TES is still in hot pursuit. Tianjin is getting slowed relentlessly by Jackie Love, and that forces a teleport out of Cube.
Okay, very, very, I'll say it's messy engages coming through. Whiffed ulti here, whiffed ulti there, as Crisp is about 40% HP without that shield. And he's just trying to find a way to get back to base. Nobody actually goes down, a couple of ultis thrown, but not a lot of fighting outside of that. Tier 1 turret, though, the focus for top esports as they move into this mid lane. Now, with no Enchanted Crystal Arrow, their offensive tools a little bit reduced, but with the Ziggs stood there present.
On the side. Keep an eye out. Can't quite land his pull there, but he's going to flash through and get the stun and take down Kanavi, but it's traded back, and Crisp is coming through, leading the charge as the rest of the team is here. The Magnet Storm is there. Jackie Love will get the kill and be able to get away.
And it's that part in the back of your mind that says, even though WE have the lead, there's just something in this top esports roster that makes you think that they're going to be able to find a way back into it. 2 for 1 in a mid lane fight. They weren't able to take down the tier 1 turret, and in fairness to WE, their defense of that is successful. It just costs them 2 members to do so. Zig's so good at trying to take down turrets, but it's Vampire who starts this all off. A great sidestep from Kanavi keeps him safe, but then a flash. It would have been a double stun, but Jackie Love reads it once again like a book, takes out the Pike, and manages to take down the Aatrox off the back of this as well. A great flash from Jackie Love. Something that we're looking to see is him stepping into these fights, using that Ashe's power. That's exactly what we got from him there.
Yeah, this one feels like it might be the Jackie Love game, Rudu, the one that we were waiting for. And even if it's on the Ashe, you know what? That's just fine. We'll take it all the same as It's a bit of a less than 2,000 gold lead here. Dragon coming up in about a minute. This Otacon has spawned in the top side of the map. Not quite sure which Otacon it is. I always feel like there's a world where it could be ruinous. But it just feels like
this
no
game
world.
it's definitely been a little bit more bloody, and I think Pyke kind of incentivizes that a little bit, but just overall.
No!
Damn
it!
Thought. Oh well. I honestly prefer that. I think this Otacon is far more OP as
Hang
Chanshin
on.
now in the trouble.
Oh, he is stuck. He's got nobody around to help him, and even 369 has joined the fray, and he'll pick that one up for himself. He's 4-1.
And that might now mean that they can move themselves up to that top side, try and take down the Otacon as well. Either that or they head to Tier 1, but I think that breaking this Tier 1 turret versus Ziggs is going to be impossible without the Baron or a very swift dive. So either of those two things not coming to the fourfold. It's just going to be a quick pick onto Tianjin. Recall for Jackie Love comes in. We'll have to see what he's looking to work his way towards for a third item. Hopefully there's a BF sword somewhere in his inventory, and that might be the sealing of the deal for his build path.
369 gonna pick up this bottom turret as more gold pours into his pockets. Dragon coming up very soon, but TES looking to deploy on the top side of the map. See a lot of pings going down toward this Otacon. See if they're maybe able to catch anybody on WE in rotation. As you can see, this gold graph starting to just tilt a little bit more toward the side of TES.
Yeah, and so far Taeyun has been, I don't want to call it absent, because in team fights he's been doing very well, but for the most part the game has been played in skirmishes, and I think that if WE want to involve Taeyun a little bit more, and they should be looking to do that, they need to look for these larger scale fights. Where are they going to be happening? Around the Otacon, around the Dragon, which right now seems to be forfeited by Top Esports, as we're seeing Karis already started up.
Oh, hang on, they're going hot after Kanavi, and Vampire is in a
Vampire's
one-on-one with him
missed.
on the backside. You're not going to win that one. Kanavi gets the kill as the Dragon has been started up and is very low and is secured by Tianjin, but 369 will not let you escape, Karis, as he goes down. And now TES, there's a teleport headed to the top side and a ton of pings headed up there. I think it's Otacon time.
Certainly looks like it. Taeyun not even able to be a part of that fight, and just as I'd asked for some broad scale 5 versus 5, some larger impact from everybody involved, he's not really a part of that next fight, but you can see
chunk.
the damage that he's doing. If he's given the opportunity, he can get that damage down. 2 items on the Ziggs with the Sork shoes already picked up. Working their way towards this Otacon. Goes down quickly, but they've got enough people nearby to maybe try and poke around, try and see if they can find a way in.
Doesn't look like that'll be the case, although maybe it's going down quite a bit slower, but Tianjin is going to go in and try to steal it away, and he's going to give us life for it too. Not able to get it done as Cream gets that one, and you have to feel that maybe Tianjin knew that this game was starting to tilt the other way.
Yeah, I think all of a sudden with that, Top Esports should now look to really run this advantage that they've got. Start diving, start taking turrets. Any fight that you can take is a good fight when you've got this Otacon buff on your side. You should just be constantly looking, constantly hoping that you can get a fight out of this, and whatever turret you're looking for, you should just be forcing.
What's the path here, dude, for the side of WE? It feels like, you know, maybe you just have to... again, as you mentioned, these large-scale team fights, take a look. This is how that play started with Kanavi. He had a very nice flash there, and he dodged out on the Fate Sealed. But,
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
Vampire
dodge
just
is-
way too deep.
Yeah, Phantom Undertow there is to get the stun, and the idea there is that if he stuns him up in front of Karis, Karis can quite easily just melt through Kanavi. Unfortunately, the snapback happens at the same time as he flashes forward, so definitely very tricky, and a little bit of miscommunication there maybe on how they wanted to play it out. But this is a fight once again.
Oh, no. What a prediction there by Jackie Love, by the way. Predicting that flash. And Vampire falls once again. This is looking like the Vampire of 2024. It's a little tough on the Pike when you're starting to be behind as the siege is on here in the bottom lane.
You can just see, look at the type of play that we're seeing from Top Esports. 369 taking 1v2 in the mid lane, just happy to get withdrawn. Cream was flapping underneath that tier 2 turret just to zone away WE. And now, again, no Baron at their backs. They've just got this Otacon, and they're just trying to force it through.
Well, Jackie Love is quite low. We'll see how many people get sent back to the base here. Kanavi has gone golden as they're looking to get this kill on Tianjin. He will fall, but so will everybody else on TES, sent back to the base. As he manages to get a snipe on a Vampire, does Kanavi.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're very happy with that.
This is a great example of how OP this buff is. They just
So
lost
busted.
They just lost a fight, 5 versus
But they won
5,
it.
lost all 5 members, but they got 2 members down. Now what can they do? They can move their way out to the Baron. They've got 20 seconds on Tianjin, 10 seconds on Vampire. That's a 5 versus 3 on the map that they're going to quite happily look to take and try and find a Baron with it.
And it looks like that's going to be the move here for TES, and you know they got plenty of damage to do it. You got a Zyra, you got an Ashe, you got a Smolder, and guess what? You're going to get a Baron. Cube not going to be able to do anything. Taeyun trying to get the poke out, but he is the one that's catching the arrow to the face, and he will fall, and Rudu, this should be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, top esports from here, you would like to think, can push their way through to a victory. Forcing Vampire out, forcing Cube out, Karis not really having the impact in this game that he needs to turn this game around. Now with the Baron at their backs as well. Sieging, this is more familiar territory for all of our teams. Sieging with a Baron and top esports certainly should be ones that can make the most of it. Wailing away now on this tier 3 in the mid lane. Wave pushing in the top side from Cream.
Stun goes down onto Crisp. He's forced to flash out, but still staying upright as the cannon minion will put in some serious work here. And it feels like it's just so doomed for
instant
WE as the
engage.
Fate sealed onto Cream. He's forced to flash over the wall, but Tianjin chasing after him, but now he's gone too deep. He had no backup, and Cream will kill him. And it's just more deaths, more killing here for TES as Taeyun may be up, but they're just rotating members at this point, and they are looking to siege onto these Nexus turrets. 369 has his teleport available.
Cream is still in the top lane here, pushing in a wave, so they've got a fallback strategy if they need it, but currently using those double super or double cannon creeps to do as much damage as possible.
Oh, Jackie Love cleanses nothing. He didn't even have to. He dodged it out, and they just kill Vampire. Another teleport coming in. It's 369 rejoining the party, and the siege is on. He's going to go all the way deep, targeting Taeyun, taking him down. Great play by 369 to put the exclamation point on this series. It's going to be a 3-0 for top esports. Did you really expect anything different? As it's now just time to clean up a couple of kills, pad that KDA. Oh, unless you're Kanavi. Okay, Kanavi's fine. Sturt will fall. It is a 3-0. No!
Vampire is going to
I
find one.
cursed it, bro.
And Karis, he may yet find 369, but the 3-0 comes through, top esports, as you would have anticipated coming into the day. A little bit less how we expected it to happen, but the score will read the same for top. They've not dropped a game. And importantly as well, I think that WE not being able to take a game could be very important as well. Every game that you get is actually quite important if you end up running into tie-break scenarios. So the fact that WE get 0-3'd here could end up having a little bit of a knock-on later on in the group if we end up thinking that that's how the group plays out.
Yeah, a little tough for them. And you know what? They had a really, really good start in that game. I thought there was maybe going to be a world where they were able to just keep the ball rolling, keep the pressure on, and you know, as mentioned, you know, break open that game, especially against the team that scaled so well like TES, but it just wasn't meant to be. It felt like after that comment, it just went all wrong for Team WE.
Yeah, pretty immediately, almost. Sort of the quintessential curse that came through. But either way, I think that the WE, they've still got stuff to be proud of, because this game wasn't like Game 1 either. I think Game 1 was clinical from top, and that's maybe what you get in Game 1 of Fearless. You get your true comfort and you get to see what you're after, whereas Games 2 and 3 we got to see something that they're not quite as practiced on, not quite as well versed on, and they didn't know how to fully execute on, but they came away with wins anyway. WE, though, like we mentioned, 2 and 3, they had a lot to say for themselves. They gave what they could give, and it was a lot better than we saw from them in game number 1. So a lot of good wins that they can take morally. Unfortunately, not so many physically on the Rift.
Yeah, Team WE last year finished as the second worst team in the LPL. I have a feeling that's not going to happen this year. You know, this team definitely looked better than, you know, second worst LPL team. And if they happen to be in that bottom 2 and they get cut in the summer, then, oh God, how good the LPL actually is, right? Because if you got teams like them taking top esports, you know, to the limit in game 2 and putting up a fight in game 3, I mean, that means this is going to be a really hotly contested league. So very excited to see what they end up doing next and for the rest of their games in Group A.
Yeah, obviously, you know, they've got some, we'll say,
difficult competition still.
For sure.
They still got to go against AL. I think that the benchmark game for them, unfortunately, is going to be how well they do versus LGD.
That should be a fiesta.
Yeah, I think that to expect anything else between LGD, WE would be insincere to what we've already seen from them. But that matchup of WE versus LGD is going to be very important, as is the top esports versus AL one. If there's any form of upsets between those top two and bottom two, that's when the interesting parts of the group start to come out. But I think for the most part, we now have sort of confirmation. We've got eye tests on all of our teams on what they can do, and we've seen largely everybody meet what we were anticipating.
Yeah, and it's been pretty good, right? And TES, obviously, it's a little worrisome that they looked so clean in game one and did not look as clean in the games that occurred afterward. That is something to really keep in mind. That is like, it makes you scratch your head, right? So, we've seen everybody except for 3 teams. We haven't seen IG, NIP, or JDG yet, which I'm really excited to see them next week, as the first match of next week, I believe, is IG versus
tomorrow.
NIP, which should be a banger. That'll be tomorrow. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think that the return of Doinby is something obviously that is going to be quite exciting. Obviously, IG had we'll call it an early exit from the Demacia Cup, but they drew top, so somebody had to take that early exit, unfortunately. So I think that with the way the LPL has sort of fleshed out its teams, we could very easily have like a very competitive top 5, top 6, and that means that 2 of those teams don't make it to a semi-final, and at some stage during the quarters there's going to be a heavy hit, a really big showdown that unfortunately IG fell out of in Demacia Cup. Coming into Split 1, they're going to have to try and assert themselves, obviously, as leaders of their group, to see if they can still make it to where we expect them to be there. But NIP come in as definitely no slouches either.
Yeah, I still think that IG and NIP will be the ones to get out of that group. But hey, listen, RNG might have something to say about that. We'll see what the case is. I still think that the closest group right now is probably this Group C, right? I think that unfortunately LNG losing to ThunderTalk will actually really set them back, because I don't think they can beat BLG, to be honest with you. But that one is certainly like a whoa. That's a big shock. There's a couple of really good teams here. So we can take a look at the post-game graph. I mean, look at that damage spread on TES, man. It's a thing of beauty.
That's what you love to see when you draft 4 carries, is that you get 4 carries worth
Everybody
of damage out
eats.
of the game. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody eats.
The gold graph as well gives us a little bit of a glimpse as to the fact that this wasn't just another steamroll from top esports, but what it does give you is that when they got the lead in this game, they actually didn't really let it go. There was a little bit of time, 5 minutes in, great small advantages that come from laning, but once they got it at like that 22-minute marker, they just absolutely ran home with it.
Yeah, I think that gold graph shows one really, really important thing. When the gold graph was blue, WE was winning. When it was red, well, that's when Jackie Love started using his arrows and they started getting picks. Coincidence? I think not.
No, I also think not. And I also think that the time when they took the Atacon as well, that might have some little overlap in there.
Pisha, Atacon? What's an Atacon, man? No, that thing is
I'm from season 14. What is this word?
Disgustingly broken, bro. All right. Let me ask you, what do you think they're gonna do? Do you think they're gonna? I think they're already slated to make some changes, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the way I would go about it, obviously, your boy is not Riot Balance team. Just the way I can conceive it being, let's say, weakened is, first of all, and I think this has been talked about, is that they're going to make it appear less frequently. So the threshold for the amount of fighting that needs to have happened is going to go down slightly. It appears less frequently, basically. But also, I would make the buff weaker. Like, the buff that you get from it is so obnoxious. Like, it's 2 minutes of GA. I think you can half that.
It's 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's a long time. You can probably half that, and it'd be fine. And then that's where I would start and see how it felt after that.
You know what? I'm with you on that. I can agree. Maybe knock it down to like 2 minutes, but that might even be a little too long. All right, let's cast our votes for player of the game. Listen, you got a lot of good options here. Although the damage share doesn't support it, I'm really a Jackie Love proponent of this game. Although I will say, Crisp went pretty under the radar that game, but I also thought had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I think you can. I don't have a firm argument for anyone, so I think you
I
can give
agree.
it to
I'm
anyone.
with you.
Is this was a team wide? Okay, we all did relatively well. So
The
I
team
would
gets the
just
player
say,
of the game.
Yeah, you could go Jackie Love, you could go Crisp. It feels like either of those two feel right. Feels like Kanavi was farming quite well, but was also the one that was getting slightly caught out. But then again, the way he was getting caught out, he never actually died all that frequently. So it's kind of.
Oh, I don't know, man. He was 1-4-4 at one point, bro.
Well,
not my
yeah.
MVP. Not my.
Not your MVP. Okay, so maybe not Kanavi, but like the bot lane, I think is where we've landed on. Somewhere in the bot lane.
I'm staking my claim on Jackie Love because, listen, it supports what I just said about the gold graph, right? It's before arrows, after arrows, right?
True. I'll take Crisp then. I'll take Crisp.
Okay. You know what?
We
You
can
know
have
what? That's
either.
totally fine. Oh my god, I hope one of us is right, dude. We're gonna look so dumb if it's like, congratulations. I mean, 369 could have gotten it too. Wait a minute. We forgot that dude was 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad
I think we
game
messed
either.
up. I think we messed up, bro.
Well, we had to leave somebody out. 369. He can't get two.
Well,
in
we
the
already left
series.
Kanavi out.
He was intentionally left out. That was an accepted L from Kanavi. Shouldn't have picked Zyra into a Sejuani or blinded Zyra.
I mean, it ended up working out, right? They got the W. He was certainly relevant.
Wait, he didn't get the
as
player of the game, Yanni. He didn't get the player of the game.
You
Not
don't
in
get
our
the player
hearts.
of the game. Yeah, it's not ooh, got a spoiler in our chat.
I'm not looking. I'm not looking.
look.
I'm not looking.
Don't-
I'm
oh,
gonna get
yeah.
the full reveal.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Yes!
Oh, okay. I lose.
Bro went
Oh,
5-0 and 11. I actually
Okay.
didn't even look at his stat line. That's crazy work.
All right. Well, no deaths is what I like to see on AD carries. So
Yeah,
we'll allow
well
it.
done. Especially
Also-
on Nash.
Yeah, immobile little AD carry can be difficult to stay alive.
Yeah, it was incredibly difficult to deal with that. But guess what? Yone wasn't really even in his zip code for most of the game, right? It was
No,
just-
that's true.
It was really difficult for him to try and chase down and get there, and just could not get the job done. So, really good stuff coming out of the side of Jackie Love. And really, are you surprised because of how good Jackie Love is, man? I mean, this guy is just incredible, right?
Not at all.
Phenomenal player. We love to see him.
Absolutely. Should we say start to finish? I think start to finish, this guy was pretty good this series. I mean, game number 1 was clinical from everybody. He didn't really need to do anything in game number 1.
Game two, listen, he got called out that one point, but he brought it back.
Did get caught out, but he did end up doing a lot of work in the team fights later on as well. And then game 3 got player of the game. So yeah, sure, I'll allow it. Start to finish, good stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, that is it for us here tonight with LPL English, but we do have more LPL action coming because guess what? They play every single day of the week. And this upcoming week, they're going to play twice in one day. But we're getting a little bit too ahead of ourselves there, as tomorrow it'll be IG versus NIP. Rude, you're on the cast for that one. I believe you're with Mazel.
Indeed.
Hell
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
brother. I hope you enjoy that series and you'll be eating good, my friend. We also want to give a big shout out to our elite Ko-Fi supporter, Aaron Superus. If you want to be like Aaron and support us, you can go over to the Ko-Fi and use that to donate. Their pledged financial contribution helps level up our broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you the English LPL product every day because they play every day of the week. Rude, any final thoughts, any final words about really the first week of the LPL as a whole?
I'm glad that we've had to round out with a nice experience from Top Esports, them showing why they should be a top-seeded team, a top team going into not just this group, but into the playoffs as well, a team that teams should be fearing. I'm glad that I finally got to work with yourself, Yanni, and a big shout-out to Camcom as well for working production behind the scenes, making sure that everything's running nice and smooth on the production side of things.
Yep, absolutely. Well, there's only one thing left to say. For myself, for my co-caster Rooted, and for Camcom behind the glass, pushing all the buttons, we want to thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow for IG versus NIP.